It may be early in the riding for the story of the North American Racing League GT3 Season 3, but already so many fun storylines have presented themselves. Strong drivers, new and old, flexed muscle at Road Atlanta, while others will look to turn their first impressions back around this evening at Sebring. Who emerges from the darkness in South Florida holding a trophy for round number 2? Only time will tell. 2 races on the docket as per usual, and we are ready to go racing. Hello and welcome to PitStopTV, and for just the second race. Just the second race. It already feels like we're, already into the swing of things, but only the second race of the NARL GT3 season number 3. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside Emerson Arden on social media coverage. JP, welcome to Sebring.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back. And obviously, as you mentioned, just from round 1, we had so many stories, so many overtakes, so many battles, so many things happening, I guess you can say. And as you mentioned, it's only round 2, but it feels like we've been here for a long time. We have a lot of new faces. We have old faces that we've known for quite a while, and obviously other series. And now we hit the Sebrings, we hit the bumpy road here in the United States of America. It feels good to be here. It's very dark, as you can see. But it's definitely going to be a fun challenge for these drivers. I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us tonight.
Yeah, dark is an understatement. Nightfall certainly upon the speedway. It's going to be fun. I like this. We've not had this just yet with the North American Racing League. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've had some weird night races on road courses before with other series, but nothing like this. This is absolutely the dead of night, or at least just before sunrise, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys navigate through the darkness and get up to speed here at Sebring. Let's go ahead and take a look at the track map. Nothing too crazy. It's Sebring. I say that, but there's certainly the intricacies that you get drug into here at Sebring. Turn 1, relatively cut and dry, but it's also very, very easy to mess up. Very easy to run wide. I think that's the biggest issue we'll see today. And of course, differences in braking zones, trying to make passes into that corner. It's definitely a passing opportunity, but you've got to nail it just right. Turn 2, it's hardly even a turn at all. Really, you're gearing up for turn number 3, 4, 5, and that is what feels like an infield section. It's one of those really narrow, tight portions of racetrack that really only sets you up for the exit out of turn 5 towards turn number 6, big bend, and you've got to maximize everything out of turn 5 to get up on the throttle as quickly as possible, get to the gears as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and rock it down towards the hairpin.
Absolutely, and then obviously the hairpin is a very tricky braking zone. You need to brake obviously with the cones in your left hand side, but also manage the bumps. Then you come obviously outside of it, turns 8 and 9. On big straightaway, you can say another overtaking opportunity down into turn 10, another big braking zone. Then you come through turns 11 and 12, kind of a twisty section, and then pretty much a 90-degree corner at turn number 13, who's again gonna set you up for the last few corners before Le Mans.
Now, once you get towards Le Mans, it feels relatively straightforward. Your list of things to do kind of shortens up pretty quickly. You head out of turn number 16, and it is just full throttle down that backstretch towards Sunset Bend, and then it's just a matter of getting through Sunset Bend, and it's like 3 or 4 corners mixed into one. You can see there's kind of 3 apexes there that you've got to get down just right, and that wraps up the lap. There's no easy way to explain Sunset Bend. There's no easy way to wrap it up. You've just got to try and get it right. That's the only way I can really explain it. You've got to float the car in easily on the brakes, but also rather sternly, because you've got to carry as much speed into the corner as possible without overcharging the corner. And you've got to get it just right around those bumps, right around the bottom side of the racetrack if you can, maybe a little higher up, and try and get back into the throttle as quickly as possible. There's no easy way around here. You've just got to respect the bumps. That's why #RespectTheBumps trends every March in endurance racing and motorsport as a whole. Sebring International Raceway, we love you. It's going to be a lot of fun this season. Let's go ahead and look at point standings coming into today. Our amateur point standings, here they go. David Hicks atop the standings. T. Gasper in second place, Diego Eda there in third, Rob Rodriguez in fourth, and Brent King in fifth, tied with Lachlan Holiday. It's a 7-point spread there in your top 5, 6 if you want to call it. Brian Long not far behind, and top 10 spread of just 12 points.
Absolutely, and obviously this is going to change. This is the finishing order that we had from last week, so obviously, it's, I guess, box standard, I guess you can call it. This is going to change a lot after tonight's round. It'll be interesting, obviously, to see if the top drivers, maybe even the top 5, are going to remain in form. If David Hicks can get 2 out of 2, if we're going to get a different winner, if we're going to see some drivers that maybe struggled last week to come up the standings. So a lot of different stories, a lot of things to happen, and I cannot wait to see how much this will change after tonight's round.
It's certainly going to change up quite a bit, and if you look at the schedule, you'll see why things are going to change up over the course of this season. Road Atlanta last week to open things up in Braselton, Georgia. This evening, Sebring, Florida. Next week, out to Long Beach, California. Then it's Austria, round number 4 at the Red Bull Ring. Circuit Zolder for round number 5. Charlotte Motor Speedway, my personal favorite on this list, although it's hard to say that over Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia. Love VIR. Such a fantastic race course for round number 7. Of course, JP, I know you will be partial to Interlagos, and honestly, I can't blame you. It's a really good set of racetracks, I think. Everything here, I would personally race every racetrack on this list without thinking twice about it. Just every racetrack on here speaks to me. Sebring maybe is the one track that I like the least out of these 8, and that's nothing against Sebring. It's such a fantastic race course, of course, built out of a World War II era airfield, built for racing. At that point, just, well, hey, let's see if we can string some corners together. That's exactly what they did, and boy, it seems to have stuck pretty nicely. We're still doing it here in 2022. Race cars are on the racetrack, and that's always a good thing here with the North American Racing League and PitStopTV. Let's go ahead and look through some of the field and see some cars that are out there getting their practice on. Here's a look at Tyler Brown, car 429. This only reminds me, JP, there's a lot of cars that we've got to get used to, and we can't even see them. Car 429, yeah, where's the paint scheme? We don't know. So it's going to be tough this evening, but I am absolutely up for this challenge. This is such a cool deal that we've got night racing into the morning here on PitStopTV at Sebring.
Absolutely, it's a brand new challenge. Obviously, it kind of brings the headlight game into effect. Obviously, we can see a bit of delivery when the cars are close to each other, and those headlights obviously are lighting it up. So it's interesting, obviously, to check a few of the cars based on the front and back headlights. We just took a look at a Ferrari. But yeah, it's just going to be very interesting. It looks like we just ticked over to qualifying session. So this is what it's all about. Andrew, just quickly talking about Sebring, I share your thoughts. Out of the schedule, this is a track that I guess I can say I like the least. But I respect so much who can drive well. And obviously, the drivers are going to be giving their best. I find this track extremely challenging with all the curves, all the bumps. I just cannot wrap my head around it. But I'm pretty sure all these drivers will be putting a lot of practice, especially to qualify as well. Track position is always very important, no matter which track, no matter which car you're driving.
This might be my favorite thing about racing at night with GT3 cars. Look at these onboard cameras. Having this onboard, purple light to ease the eyes of the driver. This is so cool. We don't usually get to do this, and I know when Cash Days at Watkins Glen comes around in May, we'll have an opportunity with the North American Racing League to do this again, but this is really cool. We never get night racing on PitStopTV, unless it's at Daytona usually. This is just completely, entirely different. Look at those LED strips along the side of David Hicks' car as well. This is really cool to have, really cool to see. And yeah, one of my personal favorite things is just the lights on board these cars. Here's on board with Diego Era, and it looks like no onboard lights with him. He's in a McLaren. You're kidding me, a McLaren at Sebring, that's a bit odd. But I support it. I 100% support anytime you want to run the Macca for that reason exactly. The flames at night here, Diego, you're my new best friend.
Yeah, those flames at night will definitely light up a few of the cars behind it. Might even scare a few drivers. Definitely so very cool. Interesting. Very interesting. I guess each and every single driver, whenever they look, even us, Andrew, when we look at flames coming out of the back of our cars, we turn into little kids, don't we? It's just laughing. It's so much fun to see. We can see a few other drivers coming around the racetrack to start their laps. We're on board with a Mercedes, I want to say. Yes, it is a Mercedes, Cody Hatch. And yeah, I love driving at night. I don't know, it's either on real life on the sim, at, I don't know, 50, 60 miles an hour. In real life, we're at 200 miles an hour on the sim. I just find something about driving at night so challenging, yet so satisfying. And I'm pretty sure some of these drivers are going to share my thoughts. Some others are going to completely disagree. But, either way, a lot of these drivers are going to have to face the challenge that is driving and qualifying at night as well.
Just checking out these onboards. These are cameras we don't usually use all that often, but man, they look pretty good here at night. And oh, the McLaren again for Mike Braun. How about this? I like this. We get a few McLarens in the field. I am in support of that. McLarens always belong on the track, if you ask me. These McLaren GT3 cars, obviously the flames at the rear are just so cool, but they sound so good as well. Let's go on board and just listen with Mike Braun. Yeah, I could live with that. I could definitely live with that. Let's go ahead and start talking about lap times, I suppose, as these guys get their flying laps started. Mike Braun's actually is not tracking. I wonder if this is actually his out lap. Other cars that are on the racetrack and are on their lap, though. Here's Alan Dobbs, and oh boy, is this
BMW? No, it's a Porsche. I think it's a
Porsche. I'm trying to guess here. It is a Porsche, it looks like. Yes, that is a Porsche for Alan Dobbs and Thin Line Racing. I had to really sit there and think about that one. A Porsche here is pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see, if anything changes from, Road Atlanta to obviously Sebring. Road Atlanta was kind of dominated by the BMWs, wasn't it, Andrew? So it's going to be interesting to see, which car is going to dominate here, if it's going to be a balance between all the GT3 cars. And that's going to be the theme for the championship as well, I think. So really interesting after the drivers are approaching, the end of their lap, so we're gonna have a good idea of the banker's lap, and obviously on the second lap, drivers will be, I guess, allowing themselves to take even extra risk, as we have the first lap of 158.355, and well, Andrew, that seems pretty fast, just already beaten by William Coffey though.
Will Coffey in a Ferrari in car 57. The Ferraris look pretty darn good at night, I must say. A lot of times, finally, let's go ahead and bring up the ticker on the left side of your screen. Of course, since these are all amateur drivers, you don't really have to worry about the yellow number boards, but yellow indicating that they are all amateur in this race. Brett Kingcott, in the second spot. David Hicks in third. Tyler Brown in fourth. It looks like Pablo Ferretti in car 23. You should be in car 113, but that's okay, man. That looks... See, when you're in a McLaren, I think you're okay to have your number be a little bit off. Regardless, Pablo Ferretti looking fantastic in position number 5. Teague Ashburn in one of the Mercedes out there in 6th position. John Krugman 7th. And Leon Clover, Zachariah Rosar, and Ilya Speaker round out your top 10 currently as more drivers get their times in. Let's find some drivers that are further down the order. Maybe, Adolfo Perez should be coming around to complete a lap time this time by, and in a Porsche as well.
And the Porsche looks like his lap time will be just under 2 minutes at 159.5. That's going to be 1.2 seconds away from pole. That's going to set him currently, looks like, outside of the top 10, just barely. So a lot of time to improve still. Andrew, I'm just fascinated by the gap between first, second, and third. For me, that's crazy. 0.008 of a second between first and second. That seems, insane to think about. It came to that short of a margin. Looks like William Coffey is still trying to improve his lap time. He's currently, 18, 17 seconds away from finishing up his lap. So it's going to be interesting to see if he improves already. And obviously,
wide.
Yeah, it's a bit wider line. Could that cost him maybe the improvement?
It might be perfectly what he needs. It looked a bit wide in my eyes. He definitely ran a wide line through there, and it works. I mean, he's running faster than I would right now. 158s. That's pretty spiffy around Sebring in a GT3 car. So pretty solid stuff there for car 57. The top of the order hasn't changed much, but David Stevenson has moved up the order in a Porsche. I'm liking that we see a few more Porsches in the order this evening. That's pretty cool, actually. You don't really see the Porsche get a whole lot of love usually in GT3 competition on iRacing, but we will take it. Same with the McLaren getting some love today, especially after the BMW Cup that we saw at Road Atlanta last week. Nothing against any of these cars here, but we like a bit of variety. Zachariah Rosar has dropped down to the 13th spot, had a great run at Spa on Tuesday in the Porsche Cup cars, and certainly would like to repeat something of that sort, maybe just without the poor starting position. 33rd in that race, drove up into the top 10 at one point, just simply by his own merit. That was impressive. We'll see what he can do today. Scott Angelo out there in position 17 currently. I'm just waiting for somebody to turn up at a Ford GT, and I think they aren't allowed actually in this series anymore. I think they were at first, but I think they've kind of moved away from them for BOP reasons. But I mean, that's the only thing that I could be surprised by at this point is to see a Ford GT out here. We've seen just about everything else.
Yeah, it'd definitely be crazy. It would be
Oh,
an
Mike
interesting
Braun.
choice. And Mike Braun seems to be the first casualty that we caught on camera. Looks like a big hit to the Armco barrier. So unfortunately for him, his qualifying session might be cut a bit too short.
Nice Audi there.
Yeah, there you go, nice Audi. So interesting mix of cars. I'm pretty sure we have one car from each manufacturer, Andrew, which is obviously really good to see. And I'm pretty sure the top 5 might be in a few different cars as well. But I'm interested as well. I mean, the gap between 3rd and 4th, Andrew, it's nearly 4/10 of a second. The top 3 really dominating qualifying. But the question obviously is, can that qualifying pace, that 1-lap pace, translate into a full race pace?
Yeah, it's so tough to say. One thing that I think will impact that, certainly always does, is the weather here at Virtual Sebring. It's rather cool, and that makes sense as well for the nighttime. You can see a little bit in the background of the sky, like it's definitely starting to lighten up. You can see this, see a little bit of definition of the clouds there, but it is still 63.4 degrees in the air. That is 64 on the racetrack, and winds are just about non-existent right now. It is a perfect setup for some really good morning racing, and yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way currently. It's going to be cold. It's not going to be Daytona 24 this year cold, but it's going to be cold.
Absolutely. I mean, 64 Fahrenheit. Do we expect, Andrew, on the morning to heat it up a little bit? I mean, I don't think
once the sun pops up, maybe a bit, and of course, once you have 46 cars lapping at the same time, yeah, it might take a little bit of heat, but it's going to be pretty chilly for I think, for most of this amateur race at the very least, and we'll see how things turn out for the Pro-Am race. It's also worth mentioning, we actually have 47 cars that are here and ready to go racing. 45 of them have taken a time, and you'll see them, of course, page by on your ticker. Chad Nobles is actually the slowest of those for Moradness, E-Stars, in car 67, but Avon Dorsey is on the racetrack trying to turn the lap real quick, and Austin Hodell in the 44th spot. I think these are some guys that are going to take an opportunity in qualifying, learn a little bit about themselves, about the cars, and then go out there and show what they've got in the race. And honestly, JP, I know it's a bit daunting to face starting 44th or 45th in a 47-car field, but I don't mind that personally when I'm racing. I actually don't mind starting towards the rear and having to just work my way through. It always gives you a pretty clear line of progression in the race, and I think just simplifies a lot of things when you take the green flag. Speaking of taking the green flag, we have got a grid getting ready for racing here at Sebring. Let's go ahead and meet as much of the order as we can. Will Coffey rolls off from pole. Really solid effort in qualifying there from William. I know this is going to be a start that he remembers. Starting from the 2nd spot, you'll find Brent Kingcott in an Audi. Cool to see an Audi up on this front row. Starting from 3rd, you'll find number 20. That is last week's winner at Road Atlanta in a Ferrari, David Hicks from Moradness E-Stars. Diego Etta rolls off in the 4th position in a McLaren. Starting 5th, you'll find another, I think that's another Moradness car in car 268. Scott Angelo. Tyler Brown rolls off from 6th. Starting 7th, you'll find Sonny Brown in car 115. Really good qualifying effort there from Sonny. And Pablo Ferretti rolls off from the 8th spot. Rounding out your top 10 on the grid, T. Gashburn, John Kroom. They will start 9th and 10th.
Starting 11, just outside the top 10, Leon Clover is going to start in the number 76. On his outside, Brian Long in the number 12, in 12th place on his outside. Row number 7 is going to start with Rob Rodriguez in the number 66, and the number 199 of Zachariah Roser in 14th place. 15th place will go the way of David Stevenson in the number 13, and the number 6 of E.S. Speaker in 16th place. 17th place will go to Dominic Angelicchio in the number 128, and the number 127 of Dan Willis on his outside in 18th place. Finally, row number 10 in 19th place, we're going to have Chris Winstone in the inside line, and the outside line is going to go to Adolfo Perez in 20th place.
Starting from 21st, it's car 22, Alan Dobbs on the inside, and Mike Braun will roll off from 22nd after his qualifying mishap. Starting 23rd, it is car 26, Nicholas Sykes. Joining him in row 12, it's Cody Hatch in car 27. Starting from 25th, you'll find Philip Baderka, and starting 26th is Milan Harris. 27th starting position, all the way back in row 14, you will find Kenneth Michael with Chip Witt alongside, and around at your top 30, on the starting grid for the amateur race, you've got Brandon Levier and Jeff Castillo.
31st place, we go to Stephen Grabowski in the number 48, and the number 11 of Tyrion Phillips in 32nd place. 33rd place will go the ways of Pihad in the number 72, and Armando Bejarran in 34th place on his number 105 machine. Andrew Litch is going to start in 35th place on his number 33, and the number 54 of Sean Patterson in 36th place. 37th place we go to Joshua Benjamin in his number 78, and the number 96 of Lakin Holiday is going to start in 38th place. Finally, row number 20 is going to go to the inside line to Billy Bowerman and Kerry Karukan in 40th place.
Starting 41st, you'll find Clarence Rosa in car 71. It's Andrew Korostecki starting from 42nd. Oh, and a Lamborghini there. I like that for Clarence Rosa. Starting from 43rd, you'll find Daniel Harris in car 68 with Austin Hodel alongside. And to round out your field, you've got Chad Nobles in 45th, Avon Dorsey in 46th, and if he takes the grid, Dino Vela will roll off from the 47th position in car 47. Now, it looks like Dino did not actually roll with the grid to get this race started, so maybe starting from the pit lane, only time will tell as the field works around. Let's see, that is already... Where are they at? I actually can't quite tell. You know, when things are dark, you start to lose a lot of references. Not only do the drivers miss references and braking points, but it becomes a little more difficult for us. I want to say this is already headed down towards turn 13 or so, and this is actually a good time to bring up the track map one more time. I think your action spot on lap 1, well, action spots lap 1, obviously turn 1 is a gimme, turn 3 another gimme, turn 7 I have a weird feeling might actually be okay. The hairpin might actually be relatively calm. When you get down to turn 10 though, and tower for turn 13, I think that's where things might get a little more interesting, might get a little more hectic, and of course the run down towards Le Mans could be a little fun as well. I don't know, I just had this weird inkling turn 7 might be okay, and of course, I'm sure these guys are going to find some way to prove me wrong as we actually work down through Bishop now towards turn 15 and Le Mans. Go ahead and call your shot now, JP. Where do you think we see a little bit of trouble on lap 1, if at all?
Well, if we see a bit of trouble, I'm going to share your thought, but actually, even Sunset Ben, I think by the end of lap 1, we might see a few drivers already trying to take that position, trying to get the track position as early as possible, and we might see a few instances over there. Oh, hopefully, not going to see any, but I'm going to take the bet on the final corner.
The entire field of 46 cars, all cohesive as one, warming up their tires, trying to get some temperature in those GT3 Michelin tires. It's going to be a fun day of racing. I'm excited for this. This feels like we're going on an endurance race or something. I really, really enjoy seeing this place at night. The car headlights lighting this place up down the backstretch. This is just going to be a whole lot of fun, I think. Thanks for joining us here at PitStopTV. Thanks for supporting us and our partners here with the North American Racing League. Of course, Race Lab, Radness, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting doing so much for us week in, week out. We are about to kick things off. We are about to go racing for the first time today. Will Coffey going to lead us down to the green flag, and we will get this show on the road. Let's go down to flagman Barney in the flag stand. Green flag is out. We're racing at Sebring. Our race leader already working to Big Bend, and it looks like nobody has stopped just yet. That's a good sign. We don't see any cars stopped in time to get scoring. And, man, maybe a clean start now. A couple of cars slow, potentially back here. Austin Hodel and a few others getting into some trouble through that tight infield section. How about turn 7? How does it go for these guys?
Looks like all clean so far. We have a few side-by-side action, but looks like everybody hitting the braking points really nicely and everybody making it through, at least for this point. So Andrew, a very clean start. Drivers know it's a long 40-minute race, so they know they have to take a little bit easy on the beginning to make sure they finish. Obviously, to finish first, you first have to finish.
That's absolutely right. And oh boy, that was some moves into turn 10, and already some calamity. Chris Winstone and some others, it looks like, turned around all over the racetrack through the grass trying to get a hold of things. Boy, those were some aggressive moves in turn 10. I told you, turn 10, turn 13, those will be a couple of mid-lap desperation moves to try and make some spots up early. That's where I think we'll start to see our first issues of the lap. Oh, and Mike Braun, it looks like an issue in car 107.
maybe a little bit of an issue for him, already dropping a little bit. So, oh, already down in the pit lane, actually. So, could it be terminal before even the end of lap 1? That would be a heartbreak for him. Absolutely. We're just going to have to wait and see if he elects to rejoin the racetrack. But the leader, Andrew, already making his way through Sunset Bend, already finishing up lap number 1. Well, looks commanding so far. A decent gap to P2 and a good gap to P3.
Lap 1 complete. William Coffey leading. Last week's winner David Hicks in second. Diego Eder there in third. Brett Kincott in fourth. Tyler Brown fifth. Scott Angelo, Sonny Brown, T. Ashburn, John Kroom, and Rob Rodriguez Jr. That's your top 10 as we complete the first lap of action here at Sebring. Rob Rodriguez has got a mirror full of Pablo Ferretti opening things up to start this race. And Pablo just dropped a couple of spots. He ticked across the line in 9th, and he's already down into 11th.
Yeah, unfortunately, start for a few of these drivers. Obviously, a bit of contact. Being cautious is going to cost you a few, as we have a car, looks like a Porsche, stuck, essentially. Steven Grabowski stuck on the exit of turn 1, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that looks like turn 1. So maybe a little bit of contact on the back end of that Porsche sent him spinning around. And yeah, looks like, Andrew, the top 10, as you have even a few more battles, looks like just up the road. And yeah, this is T. Ashburn chasing Scott Angelo just ahead of him. A Mercedes chasing a Porsche, battle for the Germans. And well, looks like still gingerly here. Could we expect to see more moves? Oh, look at this. T. Ashburn feeling the pressure from Brown just behind him.
Headed down to turn 13. T. Ashburn there felt the pressure for a moment. Now Sonny Brown's under pressure from John Kroom and company. Rob Rodriguez Jr. there as well, battling with them. A 24-hour race at Sebring, I think, would be pretty cool. I just random thoughts here while we're getting this race underway. You can see these guys getting things going at nighttime. Just watching the cars roll through here. And Sebring has always felt like a campground where they happen to race. Yeah, a 24-hour race here, I think, would be so fitting. I know IMSA's got their 12-hour. Of course, WEC has their 1,000 milers. Whoa, one car's turned around in Le Mans. It looks like Philip Paderka potentially. Yes, it is, in the Audi. Sebring just feels like a good track for a 24-hour race. Somebody should do that at some point. Scott Rice, if you're listening, we'd be down. William Coffey going to lead. Lap number 2 goes purple that lap as well. How about that in the Ferrari? David Hicks put on notice here. Can you go out there and defend your first race win on the season? Can you go out there and catch up to Will Coffey? It's going to be tough.
Hey, it's definitely looking tough. William, well, setting the fastest lap of the race, pulling away from second place. Definitely looks commanding so far. Obviously, only 5 minutes in the race. But, I mean, Coffey set on pole, got away beautifully from pole, and Andrew is just building that gap, 10th by 10th, 1,000 by 1,000, and this is exactly what he needs to do. He just needs to keep his nose clean, just needs to keep hitting his marks. And, well, he should be golden. Obviously, David, well, he kind of needs to pick up the pace if he wants that second win. But, I mean, second place, I don't think you can go wrong with that, as we have a few extra battles on the hairpin. And, well, all clean so far.
Alan Dobbs passing Brian Long, who is in a Lamborghini this week. How about that for car 12? Let's go on board with him, in fact, as he chases Alan Dobbs back down to turn 10. Does he make a move into turn 10? Yes, he does. Shows the nose, gets right to the right rear into braking. Doesn't force anything too crazy, but is definitely showing that he doesn't want to roll over at all. He's just ahead of Zachariah Rosar. This is just inside the top 15, and Dan Willis wants to break that top 15. Here he goes. A move to the inside of Rosar takes that spot away.
Beautiful move down the inside, confident on the braking, confident on the exit, exactly what you need to do. Just like that, Andrew got away and, well, got a bit of a gap. And, well, just keep on going. This is a very interesting battle we're watching. Wasn't the Zachariah the driver who got an excellent comeback race last week?
Well, yeah, so it was the drive from 33rd into the top 10 in the Porsche Cup race at Spa. And that's what I had referenced earlier a little bit. He started a lot further up the order this time, and I think he's got a lot more company this time around. It's going to be a lot more difficult to replicate anything like that, but off to a good start at least, inside the top 20, and certainly fighting pretty hard. Here's a nice little battle just ahead. John Kroom and, let's see, David Stevenson, actually. Stevenson, a brand new name to me. I've not seen that name just yet this season, but he is just outside the top 10, and Alan Dobbs down the pit lane.
Oh, an early stop. I wonder if this is for, I mean, it has to be for damage, right? 7 minutes in, could the pit window already be open with a shorter 40-minute race?
Could be a penalty. I don't know how you would get that many off tracks yet, but that feels weird to me for damage. The car looked fine. He did get a fast fix, but...
In 7 seconds, probably just filling up the tank. Could be going to the end of this tank, Andrew. It would be very interesting to see if he can do that. But yeah, if it is a strategy, if it is meant to be like that, it's definitely bold. And if it works out, wow, I'll take my hat off.
Inside the top 5, we got a nice little battle shaping up with Brent Kingcott and Diego Eda, car 177, attacking car 77. This is actually for 3rd position. An Audi on a McLaren, potentially. This could be a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. This are 2 legendary manufacturers, so it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, 2 cars that are kind of tricky to drive, aren't they, Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
I'd say the McLaren seems a little bit tricky from what I have seen, obviously, from other drivers. But driving the Audi, I can tell you, well, it's not that easy either.
Yeah, neither of these 2 cars are very easy to hold off. I think the McLaren may be a little more difficult, a little more attacky, but yeah, neither one of those cars is very easy to drive at all. And look at the field. The entire field worked back onto the back straightaway here at Sebring. Isn't that one heck of a shot?
That is absolutely beautiful. You can see even the sun kind of lighting up the sky already. That's just amazingly beautiful. And obviously, you can't really tell a lot, but the different designs of the front lights, the headlights as well.
Yep.
It kind of, it's just beautiful. I love it.
Let's go on board with Chris Winstone, position 25, chasing down Kenneth Michael in a Lamborghini. So Ferrari and Lamborghini here, a couple of Italian manufacturers. Winstone in a bit deep, and you can see that Lambo hugging the inside of the corner. A really good run through center. The Ferrari going to be able to stretch his legs on exit, though. Not quite enough. This is for position 24 on the racetrack. And oh, Brian Long is headed the wrong direction. Slow out of turn 1. Gets back on the racetrack and headed down to turn number 3. A good catch there, especially for a Lamborghini.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Zachariah Rosar in trouble.
Oh, no. Oh, just on the exit of turn 3, looks like. That BMW is facing the wrong way, so unfortunately for him, he's going to be losing a lot of position. That's a very tricky place on the racetrack to rejoin. Oh, just seeing all those cars coming back, looks like he's going to be able to rejoin safely right now. But wow, if it was a self-inflicted wound or a contact, either way, it's heartbreaking for him.
Zachariah Rosar, unfortunately, his really good week of racing, big week of racing that started out at Spa on Tuesday, has gone completely awry, down to the 31st position for those wondering. Wow. Such a feel-good story on Tuesday, and unfortunately just everything out the window today. We'll see what he can amass, and obviously he's been in this position before where he's had to drive back up, and in fact, that race on Tuesday was only 30 minutes as opposed to the 40 minutes today, so hey, if he's 31st now, he can actually drive back through this field in 30 minutes and still get a top 15, top 10 out of things. He's just got to be absolutely on it and can't waste any time getting back going. We'll see what he can do. Again, down to the 31st spot now, but hey, problems ahead for cars. That's going to help him as, oh my goodness, Sahaj just turned around in, what is this, Tower, I think? Big problems for car 72.
Yeah, big problems. He's trying to find a safe place to rejoin, so a few drivers already having issues. 10 minutes. Oh, and
Lon Harris there. Stephen Gabowski was also stopped.
Oh, so quite a few cars involved in this small incident. You can see kind of GT3 cars doing a bit of rallycross racing, Andrew. I don't mind seeing that too often.
No, definitely not what you expect when you bring GT3 cars to Sebring. Oh my goodness, King Caught sideways. It's like he just ripped the handbrake. Maybe we are rallycross racing. I think that was that turn 3? The car just whipped around and all right in front of Pablo Ferretti. Thankfully, no contact there. That was dangerous for Brent. A good catch, though. You know what? He hung on to the race car. No damage. Get back after it.
Yeah, really good catch. And yeah, you mentioned the car just essentially felt like, looks like a little bit of lift-off oversteer. But yeah, that's, I guess, one of the tricky things about the Audi. Sometimes it just snaps on you, and luckily for him, he was able to save. Looks like no damage. He rejoins just on 10th place, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, open up a few free places for those guys, and yeah, a few mistakes, even more.
This will be the story of the day, is Dan Willis. Oh my. I'm going to remind drivers again. Well, he's been collected by Billy Bowerman there. I'm going to remind drivers again that there is a reverse gear. You can back up and keep it in the grass. You don't have to drive straight onto the racetrack like that just to get going. Oh boy, big problems here.
Yeah, big problems, and obviously rejoin is often the talking points, isn't it, Andrew, of instance.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it is obviously frustration and obviously just trying to rejoin the track as quickly as possible. Sometimes it gets the best of us. So we're going to take a look to see what happened to him. And I wonder if it was either on the exit or under braking, if he maybe touched a little bit of the grass trying to extract as much time as possible. Not under braking, so it has to be on throttle on the exit. Yes, it is. Just, well, just lights up the rear.
And he gets back going here. You know, you can reverse a little bit. He does reverse a good bit there, admittedly. I think at this point, you've got to just accept the 3-point turn. That is not a good idea. Driving out in front of cars like that, that is never a good idea. And unfortunately, Bowerman trying to get by, maybe could have done things differently on his own part. And unfortunately, they end up in the Armco barrier. And oh my goodness, that was close. Man. Tyler Brown now with problems live. Let's see if we can bring this up. Well, this is what was going on. This is down towards Le Mans. That's out of Le Mans. He's battling here with, I think that's Scott Angelo in the Porsche potentially. And yes, that is. Something happens here to Tyler Brown in car 429. We saw him in qualifying. We should pick it up in just one moment. I wonder if it's out of Sunset or potentially at a turn 1.
Maybe into Sunset. I feel those bumps not upsetting the Audi, so yeah, it has to be down into turn 1. Maybe a little bit of contact between those two, maybe on the exit of turn 1, Andrew. That's always very tricky as well with all the dirt and the grass, so we're just gonna have to see exactly what happened to Tyler around here. Sticks it into turn 1. Car looks like it's on the racing line. No, so it has to be down into turn 3. So it quickly brakes, turns on the car, and yeah, it's the same thing that happened a few laps ago.
Yeah, tires are starting to warm up, and if you hustle the car, you can get an imbalance of tire pressures, potentially imbalance of tire temperatures, and lead to some weird stuff happening, especially with this rear-engine Audi. Yeah, that just looks like an Audi being an Audi, to be entirely honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The tricky nature of that car, it can be one of the fastest GT3 cars, but that's sometimes, you know, the drawback. It can happen on you, obviously. Sometimes you're lucky and you're not going to hit the wall and you can just control it, but sometimes you're going to come out with a little bit of damage. Now, Andrew, with 15 minutes already, almost elapsed, the sun is nearly all out. We can kind of come back seeing those liveries that we love so much.
Yeah, things are definitely lightening up here as we're on to lap 8 of 21 and nearly halfway through this race. Now, pit stops are also looming for these guys. That's what we learned last week, and hey, pit stop here for Tyler Brown. Now, obviously, that's a different circumstance. He just crashed the car, but pit stops are on the way for these guys, and we expect them to hold off as long as they can, as we saw at Road Atlanta. Only time will tell exactly when these guys come in, but it's certainly something to start thinking about. When do you want to come in? How much fuel you're going to take? You know, starting to get that all in order. And if you've got third-party apps like RaceLab.app, for example, you're starting to figure all that out, get that fuel number dialed in so that you can spend as little time on pit lane as possible. We saw that be so integral for Andre Melchers at Spa on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be... That's a strategy sometimes, you know. Sometimes the undercut will work. Obviously, most of the times the overcut seems to be the best opportunity, just saving as much fuel as possible to have the lightest car and having essentially, you know, if you save a lot of fuel, you can even have a lighter pit stop, a shorter pit stop, and you can even gamble on fuel, Andrew. How many times on ARL have we seen drivers gambling on fuel? Sometimes it's a bit too much. They sometimes run out, but some other times we've seen some really brilliant strategies.
Here's a big move into turn 13. Lovier to the inside of Dominic Angelicchio, and he takes that spot away, but maybe not just yet. Side by side, they'll go out of tower, headed down to turn 14, 15, 16 for Le Mans, but he's got that spot away that is good for 13th for Brandon out of Texas. Angelicchio drops down into 14th, and Brian Long sits behind them in that Lamborghini in the 15th position, JP. Midfield battles, that's what we love so much here at the North American Racing League. The leader tends to kind of drive away a little bit on occasion, maybe bring second or third with them, have their own little battle, but we like these midfield battles. This is where guys are racing for their season, racing for their race, and trying to keep things together. You can see Lovier starting to fade over to the right side, block a little bit into Sunset Bend, hang on to those spots, and Brian Long kind of followed on through, got on by Angelicchio. This is just standard Sebring racing. This is quality stuff as Ferretti and Stevenson swap positions here in turn number 1.
Yeah, a few position switches down here into turn number 1. And I love, Andrew, how some of these corners you can just take in so many different lines. especially Sunset Bend. I never seem to get it right, but you know, you can take a wider line to cut back in. You can take a tighter line to defend. I just love the nature of this race course. It looks like Pablo Ferretti is trying to get his position back on King Cut, sorry. And well, can he go around the outside? This would be very interesting. Not quite close enough, running a little bit too wide and allowing some of those drivers behind him to catch up. So this battle is definitely still alive, and looks like some other cars are catching up.
That is John Kroom just behind these guys. Actually, that is a lapped car. That is a lapped Audi that is positioned number 39. That would... Yeah, I believe that's Leon Clover in car 76, but John Kroom is the next car behind them for position. Pablo loses touch there with car 13, and I think the McLaren, it's quick. You can make it go quick, but I just don't think it's a long-term, a long-run car. I think we're seeing the same thing with the Audi. They're fast cars if you can hang on to them for a few laps, but as the race goes on, it's just going to wear out.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, as we have a car spun around just ahead of these guys. Not pretty sure if you caught that, Andrew, but yeah, as you mentioned, you know, the Audi and the McLaren being tricky cars.
Oh, no! Lovier!
We have even more cars just before Le Mans.
That was Daniel Harris that was turned around, and he got back rolling. Don't know exactly what's going on, but that's what we got replays for. Let's go back and find out for car 68. This is a big, big issue. Lovier, I forget. YouTube chat, by all means, key me back in. I forget if it's Lovier or Lovier, but I want to get that one right. Nowhere to go. I see you guys out there. The fan club is very happy today, or at least was happy today until this happens. Let's see what happens for Daniel Harris. This is what gets this started. You mentioned the car that was stopped on the right side of the racetrack, and this is who it was. Just gets backwards. Maybe an errant downshift. It's hard to say. Broadside of the racetrack. What does he do here?
I wonder if he just rejoins, or maybe just another car battling with him.
If it's me, start to pull up and try and... Oh, no.
Yeah, wrong choice at that point. If you're just going to reverse, just, well, hammer down if you have a little bit of a gap. Especially with the big runoff areas that you kind of have in Sebring, especially at that stage, Andrew, you have a massive runoff. So taking it a little bit too slowly there ended up costing him and costing two other drivers a bit of damage. So yeah, just really unfortunate. Now we're going to take a look at onboard Brandon Lovier. So he definitely got the cue of the yellow flag because he's already slowing down. Oh, but too late.
Yeah. If you're going to reverse across the racetrack, I think that's okay if you find yourself a gap, but you've got to reverse across the racetrack. You can never stop in the racing line like that, and I think that's always a learning moment, and I try to always stress that because I never want to just come down on a driver and make them feel bad or anything. That's never the goal, but there are things to learn from in that situation, and unfortunately, a couple of other cars that were in the top 15 are taken out, and nothing they can do about the race now. It's stuff to learn from, certainly, as we continue on a little past, well, we're coming up to halfway in 3, 2, 1, and halfway through our 40-minute race. I do notice a battle inside the top 10, a few cars in line. Ashburn, Rodriguez, Kincott for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Let's go on board with car 177.
And three different manufacturers as well. Looks like we have a Mercedes leading a BMW just ahead of the Audi. So the German Cup, Andrew, this is pretty much DTM all over again, but with GT3 cars. So Kincott trying to chase down those two in front of them. Really tricky to essentially catch up, especially with an Audi. And, well, he's definitely running a great race as well, the number 177. Just trying to get a few positions. Looks like Kenneth Michael just spun on the... Is that Sunset Bend?
I believe so. Yes, it is. That is a peculiar place to be parked. He had a nice little gap behind him. He gets back rolling in that Lamborghini. Another car comes rolling on up to him and trying to pit, actually. That was car 92, it looked like. Well, chaos. That's happened so far. What else is on the bingo card for today?
Ooh. Oh, you're going to put me on the spot like that. Oh, no. Maybe a car running out of fuel after the strategy. Could we see that? Maybe we could see a car really undercutting everybody.
Uh-oh.
I would like to see that, but not quite sure what else could it be. As it looks like we're taking a BMW, Ramon Bejarran, taking the scenic route through Sebring.
Yeah, the old hairpin there in turn 7, the wider route, if you will, gets back onto the racetrack, though, is in position number 16, just behind Jeff Castillo and ahead of Dominic Angelicchio. Andrew Korostecki in the 18th spot, Kerry Corcoran in 19th, and Billy Bowerman in 20th. We've seen a few leaders peel off and take service recently. I say leaders, probably top half of the field at least, coming in and getting service. Those being Cody Hatch, for example. He is on his outlap currently, a 13:62. That was his pit box time, 37.89 there in the lane. And for Chip Witt, it was 13:42 in the box, 36.78. So a little bit quicker there for the Porsche. And Chris Winstone's been in recently on his outlap now, and Zachariah Rosar even as well. So a few of these guys getting service now, and I think we can certainly expect a little more service here coming up soon. In fact, John Kroom on the pit lane.
So once again, the numbers game start to take effect. We're obviously going to be taking a look at the whole pit lane timer, but obviously the timer that the driver stays stationary, filling up. We see some drivers, Zachariah Rosa on the 11 seconds. We see some other drivers on the 13. So it's going to be interesting to see what the number 45 can do, as we have Brian Long as well on his Lamborghini coming down into the pit lane. So we could also take this opportunity. Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning. And we can also take this opportunity to essentially compare how the cars are, consuming fuel and how much fuel do they need till the end of the race.
So John Kroom takes a pit lane or pit box time of 14.5 seconds. Brian Long 13.48, and Angelicchio will take 13.55. It looks like you want to be in the low 13s. That seems to be safe, where you're cutting out a bit of fuel, but nothing too crazy. It seems like low 13s is the number you want to be at. And oh, Dominic, very close to the pit wall there on exit. That was very close.
Yeah, pushing the limits even on the pit exit. That's how you try to extract as much time as possible. He got quite a quick, as you mentioned, a quick pit stop. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can jump any of his competitors right ahead. And yeah, Andrew, I mean, now the pit game starts, and obviously all eyes are going to be on this guy right here, the number 57. When does he come into the pit lane? Not going to be this lap.
Likely
and
the
with
next
that
lap
gap,
then.
yeah, it might be next lap. And with that gap, Andrew, I don't think he might be pushing too much. Even if he is, I don't think Hicks or Ari are saving that much fuel to be enough to cut down a 3.7 second lead.
Fuel strategy, fuel saving specifically, it hasn't really felt like a big deal today. I'm not sure what about it. Man, that sky. I'm not sure what it is about it, but I don't know if anybody's really saving a whole lot of fuel. There's a lot of off-throttle time to save some fuel, so maybe that's part of it in my brain mentally. But King Cott and Stevenson both on the pit lane. There's a look at King Cott into his box in car 177. He's got the second box in the lane, but he started on the outside poles. So he is way down at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah, way down. Obviously, one of the cars that qualified better. That Audi leaves the pit lane right now, is going to turn off the pit limiter and rejoin the racetrack. And 12.7, Andrew. That's 07. Yeah, 12.07. So that's one of the quickest we've seen. I guess it's just second place to Zachariah Rosa so far. Yeah, absolutely. And now, obviously, once again, down to the number 57. Will he pit this lap? Will he go? Will he try to stretch it one more lap to go to the next one? Obviously, Andrew, this is a very, very big circuit, so saving even an extra lap of fuel is a challenge on itself and could really help with obviously the weight of the car and all that sort of stuff. So coming into Sunset Bend, look at how smooth that is. One steering input throughout the corner. And is he coming? Yes, there he goes. So finally he comes in with 14 minutes. Now just, well, let's keep an eye on that timer. Yeah, exactly. It looks like a conservative stop, not pushing too much. You can see a few driving Diego area taking a very long stop. So I wonder, as well as Scott Angel, so I wonder if these guys are taking a little bit of extra fuel to essentially not save at all towards the end of the race. Looks like Sonny Brown just lost a position on the exit, so quite lucky for him. But yeah, a few different strategies could definitely cost. Looks like Hicks just, got a few tenths of a second advantage over the leader. Yeah, absolutely. That's the challenge of driving these cars. Over one lap pace, they might be very strong, but obviously towards the long stint, those tires might be a bit more worn out than the others. You can see him making his way into the pit lane, slowing it all down, turning on that pit limiter. And a lot of flames coming out of that, Andrew. Does that ever get old?
No, no, it does not. Do want to shout out our partners, of course, here at the North American Racing League with PitStopTV, of course, RaceLab.app, Maradness, Tam Livery, JS Consulting, the whole lot of them do so much here for this series. Of course, RaceLab.app, I mentioned those third-party softwares. RaceLab is exactly that, and if you're looking to get started, using a third-party software to help you with your pit stops and such, and will help you figure out exactly how much fuel you need, see what's around you, whatever else, well, RaceLab.app is the place to look, the place to get started. It is absolutely free. Again, RaceLab.app to get started and use their software today. It helps you so much on iRacing, just like Maradness helps you get up to speed. We talk about VRS with the Porsche Cup Series on Tuesdays. Setups only get you so far. Now, setups do get you quite a ways, but Maradness does get you that driver coaching, does get you well oiled as a driver, and get you where you need to go in that regard. So Maradness is definitely the place to go. And we've seen several times now, in fact, think back to Tuesday as well, where in the amateur race, for some reason now that the name of the driver is not coming to mind, Alex Persian. Alex Persian picked up driver coaching from Giuliano Romagnolo, otherwise known as Stu, and went out there and dominated the race this past Tuesday. Absolutely showed everybody what for, won that race in dominating fashion, kept his cool under pressure. That is what Maradness gets you. It's that driver coaching, just becoming a quality driver on the iRacing.com sim and improving yourself no matter what stage you're at. Again, Maradness is the place to go. Tam Livery, JS Consulting, also recommend checking out each of those. If you want to get your car looking good, that's Tam Livery. JS Consulting, of course, gets you everything you need in the back end. I mean, Tam Livery handles all the paint schemes, well, at least most of the paint schemes, handles all of the social media graphics from the league, and of course, JS Consulting handles the back end with the website. Enough about all of that. We'll finally get back to some of the racing. Appreciate you guys sticking through that. Sonny Brown, though, is starting to get all over Teague Ashburn with Rob Rodriguez just behind. This is 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack. The closest battle in the top 15, really, it looks like, aside from maybe Nicholas Sykes on Tyler Brown. Everybody is kind of sorted into their own battles. There isn't much going on at this stage of the race, JP. Everybody's made their pit stops, everybody's got their fuel strategy, and everybody's trying to finish this race. 10 minutes to go. In fact, 9.5 minutes to go now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only, 5 laps to go? So a lot yet still happen. Obviously, these drivers, they're running out of laps to make a move. Obviously, Sonny is running out Ashburn. He wants these laps to run out as quickly as possible to hold off that second place finish. It would be a great addition to his second place last week, as we have King Cod setting the fastest lap of the race. So some drivers really taking advantage of that lighter car. Maybe a bit cooler tires, warmer tires, I'm not quite sure. But, well, the fastest laps, Andrew, might be coming right now.
And the track is starting to warm up as well. If we pull up the weather, you can see up to 65 degrees. So it's just starting to take a little bit of temperature. And the tires are up to temp. The tires are in their kind of good portion of the run, if that makes sense, depending on the car. And I wouldn't even be surprised if some of these guys took a few tires just some of the guys have been sorted further back in the field. I wouldn't at all be surprised, as we're on board with Brent Kingcott. Just went purple that last time by. He's chasing down John Groom, and this actually could be a nice little battle for 10th place.
Yeah, absolutely. A battle for the top 10 is always welcome, and with that fast lap of the race, he's definitely the favorite right here. And obviously, he's just finding an overtaking opportunity, Andrew. If you're him and you have a free choice of any corner to overtake, which one would you choose?
That's a great question. It would not be Sunset, especially in the Audi. You don't want to hustle it into a braking zone with all the bumps like that. If you can get a good turn 1, I think turn 3 might be your opportunity into that infield. I think that, well, I say that, and of course we've seen Kingcott actually get sideways in turn 3 with the Audi. That's a really good question, JP. It's tough to say. Obviously, we'll see in a minute what Kingcott does, because he is definitely catching John Groom and quick.
Yeah, that gap is coming down quite fast, and obviously now the slipstream is also going to help him, so it's just a matter of time trying to find the best overtaking opportunity, trying to find the safest one as well. And the same question goes for these guys, Andrew. You know, 2 BMWs chasing a Mercedes. Same goes, where do you overtake? You could go down into turn 1. It looks like we're already going to see a move. You can see that's Rodriguez going down the inside of Sonny Brown, and, well, not good enough to make a move, not close enough to make a move, but definitely upsetting and making sure that Brown knows he's there. And
purple again.
Look at that. Kingcott once again, fastest lap of the race. He's absolutely flying. And
he did just take that spot away. In fact, we cut up to this battle up here, but Kingcott did just take that battle away from, or take that spot away from John Groom. So, yeah, the Audi is on rails right now. Kind of surprised, actually. And that was into turn 1, it looks like, because he triggered across the line in position number 11, but he is now in position number 10. So that must have been into turn 1, just set himself up nicely out of Sunset. So, hey, fair enough. The Audi got it done in the first corner on the racetrack. That is definitely a good passing opportunity if you set it up just right in Sunset, but it takes being just, perfect in Sunset to make it happen. Further back in the field, there really is not a whole lot going on. I do want to mention Sean Patterson had a bit of a good race going on a little bit earlier on and is now stuck in the pit lane. You can see some more cars back there. It looks like Avon is in the pit lane in that number 7 Porsche just behind. Yeah, Avon Dorsey in car number 7. And I do also want to say it looks like Brandon Lovier back out of the racetrack.
So after that small, I guess you can say small incident, just before Le Mans, unfortunately slowed him down a little bit, but still persevering through the damage, and obviously after the pit stop got that damage fixed, so really good to see him back on the racetrack. He's currently 32nd place. He was as high as 13th, Andrew. I'm not quite sure if that was down to the pit stops, but if it was wrong pace, it was a really good start for him.
Got a battle shaping up further ahead. We just saw Sonny Brown, Pablo Ferretti, and some of these guys mixing things up. Rob Rodriguez, actually, just got moved around. And oh, my goodness.
Oh, William Coffey.
Will Coffey. Don't tell me Will Coffey just lagged out just like Andre Melcher's last week. Will Coffey's back. Okay.
Oh, that.
Maybe not.
Oh, no. Could this be a sign of things to come? Is this the leader curse? With 3 minutes to go, the last few laps, does the leader start having connection issues? Hopefully it's not going to be a throughput for Coffey. Hopefully he can rejoin,
I think it's going to be.
It's not looking too good, is it?
He's been gone a long time, and I'm waiting on the message from Emerson. I know Emerson watches that kind of thing. I don't see Will back. David Hicks showing your race leader. He might have just walked backwards into a really big second win on the season. Will Coffey is still not back in the session. I'm waiting on that message from Emerson. He can see the message. We cannot. I can't believe that.
It's heartbreaking. Dominant victory, Andrew. Pretty sure he led.
It makes me wonder if that comes down to weather, actually. Still no message just yet. Emerson is waiting on it, but I really do wonder if that comes down to weather. There's a lot of big storms sweeping across the southern United States and headed up to the mid-Atlantic now. I wonder if that's just weather. Maybe knocking out power, knocking out internet. I don't know.
Absolutely, could definitely be. It happens, even down here in
Packets
Brazil,
lost.
it happens.
He's gone.
There you go. So we got a message.
Yeah. That's wow.
Horrible. He was leading. I'm pretty sure he led every single lap, didn't he? Even after the pit stops, everybody followed him.
Pablo took a few under the pit cycle, but otherwise, yeah, everything that happened, it was all car 57 on top, and Will is definitely going to be rightfully dejected about that one. I know he had a rough going of things at Spa with the Porsche Cup cars this week and wanted to turn things around. Wasn't happy with the way things went. Wasn't happy with his own move, and that's not going to help him. He had a perfect race going, did everything right, and apparently picking up coaching again from Giuliano Romagnolo, so proving that Giuliano knows what he's doing. And if you want to go fast on iRacing, probably check out Muradness. Wow, I can't believe that. This is for second place then. Scott Angelo all over Diego Eda. This is suddenly a battle amongst the podium, no longer to get onto the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. After that incident, everybody got a bit of a free position. This is for second place, actually, so best at the second spot in the house. You can see Angelo trying to push the McLaren, maybe into a mistake, Andrew. And if you're chasing McLaren, forcing into a mistake is definitely what you want. And it's definitely easier to push a McLaren to be a kind of upset under braking, under throttle, essentially under load than a Mercedes, isn't it?
You know, I try to always think I have the right answer with GT3 cars at Sebring, and, well, just GT3 cars in general. But I'm going to be honest, the fact that this McLaren is still rolling this nicely, I don't think I know what I'm talking about anymore. Diego Eda does back up, though, at a tower. This is maybe an opportunity for Scott Angelo down to turn 14. Does he have it? Yes. Puts it up the inside, side by side. Diego will not back out over the rumble strips. And that, I think, is the battle done.
Yeah, that might just do it. Scott Angelo got the position. Fair and square, but brilliant defense as well from Diego Area. I have to salute that. Trying to hold it around the outside. Unfortunately, just ran out of grip. I guess those front tires are not as new as they were on the first lap, and unfortunately for him, he's going to drop to third place. I assure you, Andrew, he's definitely going to try to get that position back. He looks very racy and very confident. So with 1 minute 30, do you think he can get the position back?
Time will tell, right? You know, we can only sit here and play predictors so much, right? Only time will tell. That is one heck of a backdrop in a turn one, though. On board with Diego Eda once again, wants to get that second spot back. And we will be taking the white flag momentarily. In fact, next time around will be white. Actually, this time might be white flag with the pit stop. This, I think, is the final lap of the race.
It could definitely be. Obviously, Hicks, it's in control. And it's just this battle between Ari and Angelo. Could they be? Obviously, this battle as well between Ashburn and Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken. Also a battle for fourth place. So still a bit to play for between these guys. Yeah, going a bit aggressively. He was defending, and then just decided to come down into the racing line after seeing Rodriguez not essentially committing. A lot to play for, Andrew, and well, it might be the final lap, might be the final opportunity for these guys to make a move, so they essentially need to put the pedal to the metal.
This should be the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams. Of course, pit stops kind of mess with the timing a little bit. We're on board with Rob Rodriguez in 5th place, chasing Teague Ashburn. Let's go up to our race leader as these battles inside the top 5 start to split up. David Hicks. Very, very quiet day for him. Ran 2nd place all the way until Will Coffey dropped out with packet loss. Drops out of the race. There's not a whole lot else to say. Just running doing exactly what he needed to. Think back to last week in the pro race. You don't always have to be leading the race. You just have to be in the right place at the right time. When the leader ahead of you drops out of the race, lags out of the race, you've just got to be there, and that's exactly what David Hicks has done. And Mirandis is going to take a 2nd straight amateur win with the same driver. Pablo Ferretti loses some spots on the last lap, but it is all David Hicks across the line. Checkered flag is out. Very
good race for him, as you mentioned. Just had to be there. Angelo looks like he just beats Ari to the line. Teague Ashburn, can he hold off Rodriguez? Looks like he can. Stevenson is going to finish in 6th place. I just saw King Cod, actually, Andrew, switching position with Brown, so he's going to jump up to 7th place. And look at this train of cars. Everybody finishing very close together, but what a race we had. Day to night transition, night to day transition, actually. Lots of action. Unfortunately, a few heartbreaks, but an overall excellent race as well.
The margin for 2nd place comes down to just under 2/10. Scott Angelo just over Diego Eda. Couldn't quite rally that one back, could Diego, but really solid amateur race to get the night going. More cars coming across. Next up, you'll find Billy Bowerman across the line in a Ferrari. Adolfo Perez comes across in a moment as well. The top 20 have finished the race. There's Bowerman. There's Adolfo Perez. We just need Kerry Corcoran, Andrew Korostecki, Zachariah Rosar, Joshua Benjamin, Kenneth Michael, and Zahaj Padihar, I believe. I'm hoping that's somewhat close. And Zahaj, I do apologize. But Zachariah Rosar next up will finish 25th. There he goes. Joshua Benjamin will be next up. And Barney is just going to town with that flag. I love that Barney just has no quit in him. Like a lot of these drivers in the series, no quitting him. There goes Joshua Benjamin across the line. Kenneth Michael across now as well. And that will wrap things up for us. And JP, that is race number 1 of the day. And I don't even know how to wrap that one up. You want to take a shot here?
Oh, I think it was a pretty good race. Obviously, the bumps, I guess they were tricky for a few drivers, but, you know, an overall very, not tamed race, but a very excellent race for all the drivers. Looks like everybody had practiced a lot. We didn't see a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. Obviously, we saw a few Ferraris, a few Audis losing, but that's just the nature of the car. I say this is a pretty great race for all drivers, and they should all be happy just by finishing the race. Obviously, David Hicks might be the happiest of them all. Essentially, you know, being there, as you mentioned, you know, I guess the DNF, you know, the throughput can be compared to, I guess, a failure from the car in real life. So he was there. He was on pace, the second fastest car, but he wins the race. Scott Angelo passes Diego Ari on the final few laps. He's going to finish second place. Diego, obviously, in third place. Teague Ashburn was able to hold off Rob Rodriguez for fourth place. David Stevenson is going to finish in sixth. Brent Kincon is going to finish in second after an impressive final few laps. A great comeback from him. Sonny Brown is going to finish in eighth place ahead of John Kroom and Pablo Ferretti in 10th place.
With 47 cars on the racetrack, things were action-packed, but coming home 11th, you'll find Ilya Speaker in car number 6, Tyler Brown 12th, and it's Brian Long, Nicholas Sykes, Cody Hatcher top 15, Jeff Castillo 16th, Armando Bejar on 17th, Dominic Angelico, we saw a bit of him today in the 18th spot, Chip Witt comes across in 19th, and Chris Winstone ekes out a top 20. Through the rest of the field, you'll find guys like Billy Bowerman, Kerry Corcoran. We'll let these kind of go on by. But JP, we have a race winner standing alongside David Hicks with a pretty solid race win. And I think he's got some good things to say about it.
So David, second win of the season on the second race. I guess it wasn't the way you wanted, but I mean, a win is a win, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for Will. I mean, he had way better pace than I did, and I don't know what happened. I was just trying to keep that second place, and with like 4 minutes or so, he disconnected. So unfortunate.
But obviously, you came out on top. A really good race for you, as I mentioned. You know, you were consistently the second fastest car on the racetrack. Just a few tenths per lap made that difference. How difficult was it to practice for Sebring?
Well, it was pretty difficult because I feel like the Audi and Porsche had more speed, but I don't have that much talent to get the speed out of it. So I knew that if I chose a Ferrari, I was really going to have to push it. I wasn't expecting Will to come out and just fly in it. But yeah, I just really was trying to focus on consistency, trying to be real consistent each lap.
And looking towards next week, how does the practice kind of shift up? Do you change anything, or do you just tackle the same way as you did before?
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to make next week. I'll be on vacation. I'll be out of town, so good luck to everybody else next week. It's going to be a tough one, though. Long Beach is going to be a tough race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're probably not, well, definitely not going to be seeing 343. But well, with that being said, I'm gonna let you enjoy your, I guess, holiday, your little travel. Before you go, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
Oh, definitely to all the guys at Quantum. We've been practicing all week and helping each other. And then, I've had coaching session with Daniel Morad. And it's crazy how much time you can shave off with just one coaching session. So.
Well, absolutely. With that being said, it was a pleasure talking to you, David. Have a nice trip, and hopefully we can talk to you in 2 weeks' time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Andrew, that was David Hicks, second-time winner in 2 races. Well, pretty good race for him. You know, he was there all times. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be seeing him at Long Beach, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing him in 2 weeks' time, and I'm sure he will be just as fast as usual.
Yeah, I'd imagine he will still put a nice season together, and of course he does have a drop week to lean on if needed. That is David Hicks with a race win, Scott Angelo third, Diego Etta second, and so on and so forth. You saw the race results. We've got to quickly get ready for race number 2 on the day. Of course, the Pro-Am race in just a few moments. The biggest names in this series coming up for a 50-minute race around Sebring. It's going to be a lot of fun from the night into the day. At least, I believe that's still the plan. And we will be ready in just a few moments. Do not go anywhere. Stick with us here at PitStopTV. We appreciate it.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Sebring International Raceway. It doesn't quite look this sunlit. In fact, it did a few moments ago for the back end of the amateur race, but now nightfall has come once again. I guess we've just advanced or reversed. I'm not really sure exactly how time works, but it is dark once again. And honestly, I am okay with that. Qualifying underway for the pros and pro-ams. Let's just get right down to it, JP. We are going to have a wild 50 minutes of racing with these pros and pro-ams. I am very much looking forward to this. Juan Blena, quick list so far. The quickest so far, not quick list, but quickest so far in car 89 in an Audi. Nicholas Rubelar in a Lamborghini once again, second quick. And Nathan Lewis in that third spot in an Audi.
Sixteenths of a second looks like behind the leader. Blanad has a great lead already early in qualifying, doesn't he, Andrew? 0.3 of a second on a pro field is definitely quite a gap. I expect to see that gap closing in quite a bit after these drivers take it on for their second lap. And it looks like the strategy, Andrew, it seems to be one quick lap, one cool down lap, or maybe he's just towing back to the pit lane and straight back to the racetrack.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I saw Lewis being very slow, trying to cool his tires back down. The weather wouldn't, well, it is warmer. 71.8 degrees, 73 degrees on the track, and there is a bit more wind, so maybe. Yeah, I didn't expect that, actually. Did not expect the slightly warmer temps here in the pro race, but there you go. So things a little bit different for these guys. Tire temps a little easier to build as we're on board with Marcos Nunez in car 23. Fabio Zamperlini looking pretty good in the 6th position so far. Matthew Dench in 7th, Hunter McDaniel in 8th, Nick Ludicky in 9th, and Martin Crisp currently rounding out your top 10. Neil Bledsoe in the 11th position in car 21. In fact, just dropped down to position 12 because Gustavo Ariel up into the podium with his qualifying effort. Full-time esports looking pretty strong.
Pretty strong, 4.5 tenths behind Blanat so far. I'm not quite sure if he's taking quite as aggressively. No, he quickly tows back to the pit lane. You can see Blanat, is he on a quick lap? I think he's just finishing his second out lap. White looks like just finishes his lap 1.2 second off. Rubelar looks like, oh no, Ferguson goes into third place, and Andre Melchers
is here.
Well, almost half a second faster than Blanat. So yeah, the bar is set, Andrew, as I guess we kind of expected a little bit.
Bruno Carmo's next up out. I say next up. These guys are all on their own kind of deals here. Dominic Olivier in car number 99 is out there. Justin Sang in car number 188. Victor Miranda's even on the racetrack, and this is counting for a timed lap. We'll see what Victor can do.
Looks like he's just approaching sunset, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So quickly finishing up his lap. It's going to be interesting to see how his banker is going to compare to Melchers. Obviously, those two go head-to-head. Last week, Victor finished second place. Obviously, Melchers had that bit of a disconnect, that bad luck that's, went against him on the first round. Victor rounds off the final corner, drag races to the line. That's a 56.8, and that's going to set him in second place.
Would you like a repeat of Tuesday?
I wouldn't mind, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna have to see about the start, but it could be the opposite during the race. Could be Miranda saving fuel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, actually. With Andre being quicker here in qualifying, you could be onto something there. Here's a look at Tony Kanaan, of course, IndyCar driver, Indy 500 champion, IndyCar champion. Like, yeah, the accolades are there for car 48. He's headed down the backstretch, headed to Sunset this time. We'll see if he can improve that lap time. It is a little bit off, honestly, for what I would expect from Tony. Position 28 so far in qualifying, just ahead of David Flanagan by about a half a tenth of a second. We'll see if Kanaan can go any faster. And TK across the line, yes, 3/10. That's going to move him up the order quite a bit, up into 27th. So not as far up as I thought he was going to go, admittedly, but still up the order a good little ways.
Yeah, absolutely. as you mentioned, we kind of expected a little bit more, but sometimes you mentioned, Andrew, sometimes it's good to start a bit further back to avoid some of that turn one, as Nathan Lewis, just as we were talking, well, he jumps into second place. Very good lap from the Audi driver. Was Melchers and Miranda, they were both on the Audi as well, weren't they?
Melchers in a BMW and Miranda in that Audi. Nathan Lewis also in the Audi. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, we just saw tires fall off pretty aggressively in the Audi, so we'll see how that changes. Now, it does look like Parente, for some reason, is set most recently in an amateur number box, but I'm actually not sure. I can bring up the spreadsheet. I'm actually not sure if he should be Pro or Pro-Am, but we'll go ahead and sort through that, and obviously next week make sure that isn't the same way. As qualifying comes to an end, we can go ahead and get ready for our grid. JP, I'm excited to see how this one goes. Of course, we see that the same two drivers are well out in front of the field as per usual, but there's a few more steps to that equation, right? It's not just that easy. 50 minutes of racing with a pit stop in between and everything that can go on here, there's still a lot to happen and a lot that's going to determine this race. Starting on pole, you'll find Andre Melchers in car 25. Nathan Lewis rolls off second here today. Really solid qualifying effort from Nathan. I really like seeing that. Victor Miranda in the third spot. Really solid qualifying effort from the entire top four, top five or so, really. Juan Blanat there in the fourth spot. Nicholas Rubilar in the fifth position. Took the win last week. Daniel Ferguson there in the sixth spot. Bruno Del Carmo will start from seventh. Gustavo Ariel in eighth. Fabio Zamperlini rolls off from ninth. And Marcos Nunez rounds out your top 10 starting grid.
11th place will go the way of Federico Godoy in the number 31 car. Paulo Godoy is going to start on his outside in 12th place. Dominic Olivieri is going to start in 13th place. Just alongside him, Nick Ludicki in 14th place. 15th place, row number 8, will go the ways of the driver that has the name, looks like, just waiting for Matthew Dench, actually. A bit of, I guess, not a great qualifying for him. Kind of expect a bit more on the race. Hunter McDaniel is going to start in 16th place. 17th place will go the ways of Martin Crisp. On his outside, Elliott White in 18th place. And the final row of the top 20 in row number 10 go the ways of Scott Kimbrough on the inside line, and on his outside, Neil Bledsoe.
A 42 car field, we move on to 21st position. To wrap up the first half, it's Simon Nicholson in car 55, Bryce Rodriguez starting 22nd in car 124. Starting 23rd, you'll find Rodrigo Lepre. AJ Stravato, haven't seen that name in a minute. AJ Stravato starting from the 24th position. Mark McDonald will roll off from 25th. Starting 26th, you'll find John Sedlak in the JS Consulting, number 203. Starting 27th, it's Reed Gibson. Tony Kanaan rolls off from 28th. Mike Galbraith will roll off from the 29th position, and Scott Reister will start from 30th.
31st place will go the way of Mitchell Green in the number 19. In the number 130 of David Flanagan is going to start in his outside in 32nd place. 33rd place will go the ways of Blake Scott. Alongside him, Lucas Souza in 34th place. 35th will go the ways of the driver that has the name of Bobby Flaggett in his number 105 machine. The number 145 of Pierre Irby is going to start in 36th place. 37th place will go the way of Brian Zinn, and alongside him in 38th, Andrew Parente. 39th place will go the ways of Mark Scott, and in 40th place, Justin Sang.
And your final two cars in the grid, Wayne Sparling, Pierre Thompson will round things out again. 42 cars, and they're all ready to get after it today at Sebring. Let's go ahead and talk about your point standings. Haven't gotten to those just yet. And you can see Nicholas Rubilar up top of the board, of course, won last week at Road Atlanta, so that is about expected. Nathan Lewis, 4 points back. Gustavo Ariel there in third. Victor Miranda fourth. Juan Blanat in fifth. And the big name missing, obviously, is Andre Melchers. Lagged out of the race last week and hoping that maybe that doesn't happen to him again this week. Bryce Rodriguez leading things over in Pro-Am. Won last week in Pro-Am. John Sedlak second. Scott Kimbrough third. Paulo Godoy, so on and so forth. A pretty solid set of top 10 in each class.
Absolutely. The battles obviously are going to change the positions. Once again, they'll change quite a bit. But, it's great battles. The field is very balanced between those two classes. So again, Andrew, just like the amateur race, is just waiting to see what exactly will happen after this round, how much this will change. And I cannot wait. I mean, 50 minutes awaits us, and well, it's bound to get started in really soon.
And one more look, of course, at the track map here at Sebring. We saw, I think, things relatively as expected, right? In that first race, relatively calm in turn 1, a few things in 3, 4, and 5, maybe some contact a little bit in the hairpin, but really things got a little bit hectic in turns 10, 11, 12, 13. It's a very narrow racing line over there, JP, and that's about the time in the first lap where drivers start to really get racy. The first few corners, they'll lay back, they understand it's the start of the race, they don't want to push things too hard, but by the midpoint of that lap, they're starting to look for those spots, and I feel like that's where things are going to happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to share your thoughts. I think turns 1 and 3 are going to be quite calm, but after that, drivers are going to be taking every single opportunity they can. Maybe some of them are going to be taking any risks, and yeah, that's just going to be the name of the game. Just going to have to wait and see what exactly happens. Obviously, Andrew, a lot of stories yet to be answered, a lot of questions to be answered. Obviously, I guess the main one that is, at least in my head, will Andre be able to finish the race before his router restarts?
Well, I don't recall exactly what time that happened last week, but we're about to have 50 minutes to find out. And maybe 51. Maybe he wants that last lap to not get added. We'll see how things go. Andre Melcher's, of course, on pole. Nathan Lewis second. Victor Miranda third. Juan Blanat fourth. And Nicolas Rubelar will complete your top 5 as we get ready to take the green flag here at Sebring. We already saw an amateur race today. We saw 4 BSR races at Silverstone. We have seen lots of racing here today, but we are ready to see a whole lot more. 50 minutes of racing, and it's all going to begin now. Green flag is out at Sebring. Already some crashing across the line, just coming to the green. You can see the field wrapping around turn number 1. And it looks like that might have been Brian Zinn crashed on the front stretch, and yes, it is. Car 173 in trouble.
Yeah, bad luck already for him. Didn't even get to turn 1 before facing an instant, so we're just going to have to wait and see if he can come back. We have a spinner just outside of turn 3. Looks like he collected one car.
Daniel
one
Ferguson.
car flipping.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Fabio Zamperlini involved in this.
Oh, no. Fabio as well. Is he the car just dropping back a little bit? But we did have a few cars flipping. Looks like 3 cars, maybe 2 cars just back on the pit lane already. You can see a few of the leaders. That's going to allow this front group to essentially just have a bit of a gap, Andrew.
Look at this gaggle of cars. Tony Kanaan is looking at all of this. Let's go on board with TK. This is going to be a fun little start. TK in one of the Audis, just behind a Lamborghini of Mitchell Ian Green. Oh, look at the dive into turn 10, right around the outside of Mitchell. Whoa, almost contact there, side by side. A lot of battles going on in this midfield, and this is actually a really good seat to watch it all.
Absolutely. That was just confidence from TK. Beautiful move around the outside. Got that position done and dusted. Now he just has to focus on the cars ahead. And brilliant job, I guess. That's what, real life experience will get you. As you can see, a few further battles being settled before we head into Le Mans. Just this corner right here. And once again, Andrew, we get a repeat of that beautiful shot we had in race number 1. I just love
flashing
Sebring
already. Interesting. We've got some head games with the flashing. I did not expect that on lap number 1, but you can see some drivers queuing up those flashers. Some drivers making some big moves further back in the field, just outside the top 20 or so. But coming across the line to complete lap number 1, Andre Melcher's out front.
Not a big of a gap, not that big of a gap. You can see 0.3 of a second from Luis Rubelar in 3rd place, Bruno Ricardo in 4th place, Nunez, and then Miranda dropped all the way down to 6th. Not a great start for him, 4.6 seconds behind the leader. But look at Paulo Godoy, Andrew.
Problems for Nick Ludicky.
Oh, no.
Dropping down the order rather quickly, and he was outside of turn number 1 with some problems. First replay of the Pro-Am race, here we go. So we go a little ways back and see how this all sets up with car 16. In one of the Audis for Vendaval Sim Racing. Really showed his stuff recently in the Porsche Cup Series here in the North American Racing League. And, well, thought this might be his series as well here at the GT3 cars. Not so much, it looks like. This is into Sunset. And he's got an Audi just behind him. That's car 12. That's Hunter McDaniel. Oh, and Victor Miranda's just had a problem in live.
Oh no.
We'll see the issue here for Ludicky, then go to Victor Miranda's issue.
I wonder if Ludicky just got lost on his own. Does the car just hit a bump? Yes, I saw just a bit of, yeah, just a correction mid-corner, and at that point the car is unsettled, and as soon as he hit the dirt, nothing he could have done. And now we're going to take a look at what happened to Victor. It looks like he just went a little bit wide over there. That's not going to be the cause of his issue.
No, it's going to be somewhere further down in the lap. I want to say around turn 10 or 13. That's just based on timing that it happened after we took the replay here. So he's got car 15 up the inside there, or tried to go up the inside. That, I think, is actually Gustavo Ariel that was making that move into the hairpin, or at least looking to make that move. And yes, I do believe that's Gustavo just behind him. Is it in turn 10? Is there contact here? Yes, it is. Wow.
Is. Oh, so a bit of contact between the two Brazilians. Unfortunately for Victor, he's going to be spun around, and he's going to have a difficult time finding his way back. Is he reversing, Andrew, to try and go back to that asphalt as quickly, the concrete as quickly as possible? But unfortunately for him, looks like he rejoins very close to last place. So a really costly instant that for him.
Yeah, drops all the way outside of the top 30, does Victor Miranda. That is going to be big as far as the championship's early shapes here with the North American Racing League GT3 Series Season number 3. Andre Melcher still leading 5 minutes into this race. Nathan Lewis second. Nicolas Rubelar there in the third spot in car 7. Won last week at Road Atlanta. And who knows, could have a win sitting in front of him depending on how things go. A couple of battles maybe, you never know.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, Andre right now is leading. Nathan and Rubelar, they have the best seats in the house. They can just afford to save that fuel if they so desire. Now, that's going to be the question, Andrew. Do you save, how much fuel do you save around here? It's a pretty long lap. If you save even one lap, just like Spa we saw on Tuesday, could be very, very beneficial to you. So, I want to say Nathan and Rubelar are both going to go for that strategy. So, Andre, can he save enough fuel even though he's leading?
Definitely want to save as much as you can, I think. I'm actually unsure if these guys have the fuel maps open to them. If it's open setup, then they should, in which case we'll see some of that, I think, come into effect. I think you could absolutely drop into a lower fuel map through that first sector, the back end of the first sector through turns 3, 4, 5, and you know, turn that map back up once you get back on the throttle through Big Bend. You can do the same thing, I think, back there in turns 10, 11, 12, 13. If anything, that might even help you in some of the rear-engine cars to not shatter the rears on acceleration as Rubelar goes purple as we're on board with him here. That could be a good way to save some fuel and keep the car underneath you. It's a matter of how much these guys want to micromanage their laps and really work with that fuel map.
Absolutely. That's going to be the strategy as you have a few extra battles down into turn 1. Looks like 2 Audis just fighting for the 12th place currently. And yeah, that's going to be the name of the game. And Andrew, just I noticed on the Pro and Pro-M field, this race looks like it's a bit more dominated by the Audi, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, Paulo Gudai in an Audi out front. Second place in Pro-Am, you're going to find Scott Kimbrough in this battle with Bryce Rodriguez. And it looks like even Rodriguez Rodriguez actually is opting for a BMW. So I don't mind the stubbornness there, try to stick with the BMW. The BMW is a good car, but it just isn't nimble. And if you are wanting that nimble car, then by all means, you would go for the Lamborghini or the Audi, even the McLaren. But I like that he's sticking to his guns, sticking to the BMW, wanting to make this car work for him all season, it seems like. Not a bad idea there. Mark McDonald is 4th place in class, and he is in a Lamborghini just behind Bryce Rodriguez there. So definitely out of the top 4, you've got 3 of the same chassis.
Absolutely, and even I guess Andre is still using the BMW, so he might as well be a little bit stubborn on that BMW. But it's definitely interesting to see, you know, the different car choices. We saw a little bit last week. We can even see Rubelar in 3rd place driving that Lamborghini. So really interesting as we have a bit of an issue. Looks like coming into Le Mans, and well, it's an Audi. Matthew Dench unfortunately spinning around, flicking that car in. Looks like turning off the traction control. But yeah, unfortunately for him, a mistake is going to drop him to the back end of the field. Now, I wonder, Andrew, was there any contact or just an Audi being an Audi?
Well, he is racing here pretty closely with, I believe, let's see, that car is, I should do it this way. That is Martin Crisp he's battling with there, and oh, that was an aggressive move, and he just kind of gets sideways in his own as a result. That was... Yeah, that was Matthew Dench being aggressive in an Audi, and unfortunately, it came back to bite him.
Yeah, just a bit, maybe just a bit too overconfident. That touch definitely did not help his quest to maintain, you know, the grip on all 4 tires. So
Let's watch this one more time.
yeah, quite unfortunately, we're gonna actually get a good look at this. You know, he goes down the inside, quite an optimistic, dare I say. He was alongside, but then it just carries a bit too much speed. Yeah,
well, we saw that in
was
turn
like,
3 with the Audis in the amateur race,
Yes.
where I wonder how much rear brake bias these guys have to get the car to turn. It seems like between probably rear brake bias and just the way the weight is shifting in the rear of the car, well, nose of the car really, it just continues to whip around on these guys, kind of a slow, lazy spin. That was actually a problem in the Mercedes for a long time at Daytona, and not even just the Mercedes, but a problem with GT3 cars in general for a long time at Daytona, where you know, one side or the other would load up really weird, and I think that was just a fixed setup issue, and obviously you could tune for it, but it seemed like it loaded up and just kind of kept on going at that point, and likely even the way he rolled out of the brake potentially could have just shocked the car and brought the car around.
Absolutely. So yeah, just unfortunately for him, he's gonna be dropping, looks like just below 30th place. So yeah, really unfortunate. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead, I mean, the top 3 is extremely close, separated by, well, a second, pretty much a second. The top 3 really close. 3 different cars, 2 Germans, 1 Italian, and pretty much the Lamborghini and the Audi are pretty much the same car. So really interesting battle to take a look. And only 10 minutes in, Andrew, it feels like we've been racing for quite a bit longer, as looks like Matthew Dench makes another position down into
That is not
Sunset.
Matthew Dench. That is
Matthew.
Simon Nicholson in car 55. Yeah. So I'm glad to see another 5-star motorsport car. I did not expect that, but we do have another 5-star motorsport car in the field. Car 55 there, Simon Nicholson. Very, very cool. Just got ahead of Martin Crisp in Sunset, actually, so getting ahead of that BMW that his teammate was actually battling with when he went around. So the other 5-star car, now that we know that there's another one, is doing pretty nicely in the top 10 in a crash. Scott Kimbrough.
Oh, unfortunately for Scott, looks like just on turn 3. And
it looks like it, yes.
Yeah, and that back end is damaged, so...
Oh, and he's going to have help.
Oh, so that's going to be even more unfortunate. I was just going to call it. I thought it was going to be a carbon copy of what we saw in the Pro-Am race, but we're just going to have to take a look. He's battling a Lamborghini. Oh, just a bit of net code, and unfortunately cannot really stop in time to... well, to avoid the contact with the tire barrier, and you can see how much that the rear end of the rear spoiler was damaged. And I wonder, Andrew, by that oh no, if we had any more contact.
No, that was an oh no as far as, no, it was not solo. He definitely got help from that Lambo. I'm trying to just confirm exactly who that was in that Lambo. I believe that was Mark McDonald. Yes, car 216 that made a little bit of contact with him. And oh, Tony Kanaan with problems just behind.
Oh, just... unfortunately, not at Audi having problem, and he's going to be dropping well outside the top 20.
There
maybe
were
even
other
below.
cars sideways, and this is going to have help.
Oh, so yeah, another bit of context. So just as we elapsed 10 minutes race, drivers getting a little bit too racy, looks like, at a point, and Tony just getting a little bit of help by Ferrari, maybe just closing in the door too aggressively.
You know, you might be onto something there. I am entirely unsure, actually. That, I believe, was the 31 of Federico Godai. Let's see if we can find another angle at things. No, that is the 21, it looks like. Potentially. Of Neil Bledsoe. I think Tony might have come over.
Yeah, Neil had nowhere to go.
Neil was there. I think Tony might have just come over a little bit too far.
And that's a classic, I guess, classic overtaking maneuver. You think you're cleared, and you just move a little bit to get that better, arc, the better racing line. And sometimes, the contact will happen. So unfortunately for TK, just I guess misjudged the gap between him and Neil, and unfortunately he got spun around. Luckily for him, Andrew doesn't seem to have a lot of damage, if any.
Yeah, he got back rolling, but is down outside of the top 30 once again. And oh boy, we've got more issues. Here we go. Car 133, AJ Stravato sideways in the hairpin, and there's more with him. Victor Miranda has got a problem in the same corner. Victor, if we can get a hold of the 17 car, is just towed, actually.
Oh, so this might be race over for the number 17. So not a great first week last week. Pretty sure he finished around 5th, 6th place. Not a great week again. So bad luck for the number 17. We're just gonna have to take a look at exactly what happened to both drivers down into
Up
the
inside
hairpin.
and
Oh,
Victor.
that was Victor completely missed the braking zone.
Yeah. Absolutely completely missed the braking zone, and that's going to be pretty painful for AJ Stravato to try and accept there. He was doing his own thing into the corner and just gets cleaned up by somebody from car lengths back, and Victor Miranda's season now is in some big trouble. Victor just drove way past his braking zone and slams right through Stravato. That is... Wow, we've just seen two really big mistakes out of two really good drivers that I never would have expected.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I guess it shows a bit of the human side, doesn't it, Andrew? You
Absolutely.
know, seeing that these good, I mean, the great drivers, TK, an Indy 500 champion, Victor Miranda, who's fighting for the championship in the Porsche Cup. You know, sometimes they make mistakes, just like, I guess, you know, the rest of us. They miss corners, they miss judge gaps, and I mean, obviously, it's terrible to see that happening, but, you know, it shows that they're just human, and it happens to everybody. Meanwhile, on the lead, looks like only Nathan Lewis is keeping up with Andre. It looks like Nicholas Rubilar is losing a little bit of that gap, 1.3 behind the leader, around a second behind Lewis. He could be losing that slipstream, Andrew, really soon, and Lewis really applying quite a bit of pressure to Melchers.
Yeah, Nathan Lewis is really starting to stick to the back end of that BMW. I think maybe as the tires wear on, I'm not sure if Andre is just trying to conserve or if maybe starting to lose some handle in that car, but definitely backing up to Nathan Lewis, it looks like. Obviously, it's hard to say, but time will tell. And this kind of feels like a Nathan Lewis kind of thing to do. He's made his rise through the iRacing.com roadside for years now, and started out in the Nork iRacing series that we had the pleasure of covering last season in 2021, and just eventually decided, you know what, road racing was the thing for him, and made his way into some pretty big teams, and is here now in the North American Racing League pursuing some of the best in the business. I mean, he is going toe-to-toe with Andre Melchers and Nicholas Rubilar and not backing down whatsoever.
Absolutely not. He's definitely not fazed by it, by the presence of Andre. He's definitely here to fight for the championship, and I'm pretty sure he will fight till the end. And it's really going to be interesting. Obviously, right now, Andrew, I'd say Nathan has the advantage. He does not have the track position, but just being behind Andre, being able to save fuel and keeping up with the number 25, it's a good strategy and might work out for him.
Big problems
towards the end of the race, as we have even more problems. I saw a lot of cars moving around, at least 3 cars looks like involved just before Le Mans.
Scott Reister.
Pierre Irby as well. Scott Reister, and 3 cars. Scott Reister on the McLaren, actually, so
Scott simply cannot get a break this year.
Yeah, not at all. Bad luck seems to be following him. And yeah, just I wonder if he was just collected on this incident. We're gonna take a look on board on his camera.
On board with Scott Reister, things are going to happen in front of him, it looks like, with nowhere to go, potentially. Heading into turn 14, 15. What happens here? A Ferrari makes a bit of contact with Ferrari, it looks like, and Scott just ends up clipping them, trying to go on by.
Just misjudged a little bit of that gap, trying to stay in the racing course, essentially, to not get a slowdown penalty, and unfortunately was just too close to that Ferrari and ended up getting a little bit of damage. So we're gonna take a look at exactly what happened to the Ferrari, and they were battling. It looked like Pierre Irby and Justin Sang were battling just at the same corner that Matthew Dench had a bit of trouble. And wow, it's just pretty much tandem spin. Oh, and that BMW went absolutely flying to the tire barrier.
That was Neil Bledsoe, that number 21 car, involved in that as well. So a couple of big hits there, and unfortunately, a lot of races already starting to take some early exits here as this race starts to wear on. In fact, drivers that are out of this race, including Elliott White, Daniel Ferguson, Nick Ludicky, Blake Scott, Bobby Flack, Victor Miranda, Scott Reister, and Neil Bledsoe. A couple of those guys could re-enter the race, but it's showing that Miranda, Flack, Scott, Ludicky, Ferguson, and White are officially out. We'll see if that changes at all. But that is 37th through 42nd done for the day. The last car that is still connected, it looks like, is Scott Reister in car 142, and Neil Bledsoe just ahead of him in 35th in car 21. Those two both in the pit lane, and actually Neil Bledsoe starting to roll. It looks like his tow is complete, but that car is going to have a lot of problems.
Absolutely, you can see just how damaged that car is. I wonder how drivable it will be, Andrew. But yeah, he's just gonna persevere as we have essentially a drag race coming down into turn 1, and Audi and BMW essentially coming really close together, almost door banging. The Audi is gonna have the inside line. He should have that position nailed down. And well, yes, it does. That's Nicholson, right, getting past Olivier.
That was Martin Crisp getting passed by Olivier there for the 10th position. So Martin Crisp has been sitting around this top 10 cutoff the entire race, and it's just kind of floated around, hung on to some positions, and other drivers have made mistakes. We saw Matthew Dench go spinning out just as he had passed Martin Crisp. Martin finally drops out of the top 10. Now, he had just been hanging around in 9th and 10th for a long, long time, and now drops into the 11th position. As you can see, Simon Nicholson ahead just a little bit. And, yeah, so Martin Crisp, very, well, I don't want to say quiet race, but his performance has been quiet, just kind of floating around. And I like that out of a driver. Just kind of be there when you need to be there and see what you can grab from things. 30 minutes left in this race, just about JP. In fact, just inside of 31 to go. That means we've got about 16 laps to go next time by the start-finish line. What do you make of it so far?
A really good race. A few mistakes by some great drivers, as we mentioned. A few surprise, I guess you can say, performances, especially by Paulo Godoy, still in the overall top 10, holding steady over there. And overall, really good battles. We've seen some pretty clean overtakes. We've seen some unforced errors. We've seen some, I guess, normal errors as well. I guess everything we kind of expect. And obviously, Andrew, within, I guess, the next 13, 12 minutes, we might see the pit stop. So it's bound to get even more exciting.
This is a good battle with Mark McDonald at the center of it. Rodrigo Laprie and John Sedlak just ahead of these guys. Federico Godoy and Mitchell Ian Green following them up. So 5 cars in a nice little line here. This is, let's see, 14th through 18th position. And you can see some more cars lined up behind them. David Flanagan and Mike Galbraith just behind. That wraps up your top 20. And Scott Kimber on the 21st spot. Matthew Dench in 22nd. Juan Blana, actually, let's go back here. These guys were quick in qualifying. And Matthew Dench, of course, had the issue spinning just off of Martin Crisp's nose. Scott Kimbrough's had an issue or two, and Juan Blanat was very fast in qualifying, has had issues, and has fallen back in the order. These guys are all on the line 21st through 23rd.
This is a battle just to get outside of the 20th place gap, we can say. And as you mentioned, Andrew, a lot of these drivers having a little bit of mistake. We can see the onboard shot right here. Quite a bit of mistake to that Audi, quite a bit of damage to that Audi on the front bumper. So this will obviously be replaced, will be corrected in the pit stop. So yeah, I guess you can say sometimes the pit stop for these guys, Andrew, could it be a fresh start? You know, just getting that fast repair, getting that fuel, maybe even jumping a few of these guys. It can definitely be considered that, right? That's
certainly their hope. That is exactly what they're hoping for, as you can see. On a separate topic, quickly, Martin Crisp right back in front of Dominic Olivier. So this battle is not over for the 10th position. But absolutely, these guys are looking for kind of a new beginning when they come into the pit lane in some cases. For the guys in the top 10, though, they're looking to continue everything they've done so far. I think everybody in this top 10 has been fantastic so far, and even some drivers further outside the top 10. And look at that. Bruno Del Carmo is starting to roll in on these guys. We could have a 4-car race here soon. I think these guys are content to sit in the line and save. I think that's what we're seeing.
Absolutely. Rubelart came back and he's not stuck behind, but he's really close to Nathan Lewis. So really good pace by by Nicolas Rubelart. And as you mentioned, Bruno could be closing in. So I don't expect these guys to be fighting so soon. We could be seeing a replay of what happened Tuesday, Andrew. Nathan might just be waiting for that final few laps to essentially attack Andre and essentially stretch that one lap. It will be really interesting if that does happen. And obviously, when the pit lane battle comes, it's all going to come down to numbers. And I'm interested to see who's going to come out on top.
On board with Nicolas Rubelart. And we've got a pit stop. Federico Godoy in the pit lane. It looks like the first of the dominoes to fall. Car 31 in an Audi. Let's see how long this stop takes. Pretty good entry, and there's one other car in the pit lane with him, it looks like. Juan Blanat actually has come in that Audi. So we're watching car 31 first, and we'll go to car 89. We saw low 13s in the amateur race. These guys, I'd imagine, will go to about 20 or so before they get rolling again. And it looks like 21, 22 for Godoy, 22 seconds there. For Juan Blanat, it is 18.25. And, they're going to come out on literally inside of each other here. And, just the slightest advantage there to Federico Godoy getting back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, but that was a big difference on the pit timer. So
4 seconds.
yeah, 4 seconds is a massive difference. So I, I mean, I wonder, was it a mistake by one of them? Was it too much of a gamble by the other? So we're just gonna have to wait to get a few more benchmarks with another drivers to essentially see who essentially was on point. And well, I cannot wait. Obviously, these three, I guess we're kind of
Tony!
expecting. Oh, Tony Kanaan having even more issues. He saves the car, but wow, wasn't expecting to see a second one from him.
He was battling there with Mark Scott. Let's get a replay on this one. That might be one of our better saves. Nicholas Rubelar is now on the pit lane. We'll cover that in just 1 second. This is a nice little battle that was actually shaping up with Mark Scott. You can see this is actually his paint scheme from the Streamer Championship race when he ran an Audi as his own deal. That was actually fun at Road America way back when. To the inside of Mark Scott, he went there in turn 10. Mark not giving him an inch. Bit of contact there, door to door. Now what happens over here, a bit more contact, and that just kind of sets the Audi into a bit of a spin, catches it there, and gets it back under control, but that could have been a whole lot worse.
Oh, definitely could have been a million other different ways, but luckily for Tony, it was just a few positions lost. So I guess he will take that. As you mentioned, Rubelar was down in the pit lane, 17.9. So there you go. So the 17 second barrier seems to be, you know, the ideal one. John Sadlek down in the pit lane. And is that a new livery?
He had that last week at Road Atlanta. It is definitely one of the newer liveries, and that's a 20.4 second pit stop, which is 3 seconds almost longer than Nicholas Rubelar. But he actually had that one last week, and I definitely like what's going on there. And he talked about pitwall.io, another, it seems, software to help you out with iRacing. Nicholas Rubelar sorts into the 20th position. I wonder how this is going to work out. He's well ahead of anybody else who's pitted, John Sedlak, Federico Godai, so it's hard to get an exact scale of how these guys are going to sort back out, but, well, it's one of those things where we can talk about it all day long if we want to, JP, but literally only time will tell.
Absolutely. We're just going to have to wait and see for these guys to come down. And interestingly, Andrew, I like the Sebring, you know, the strategy. Since you're just on throttle, I mean, for much of the lap, you can see now Bruno De Carmo coming down at the pit lane, absolutely pushing to the limit. Yeah, very aggressive. And I just like, you know, the fact that since in Sebring you're on throttle so much of the time, the pit lane is actually the pit stops come actually quite early, doesn't it? 24 minutes still to race, and we're seeing a lot of cars, seeing a lot of action. Normally we see that action, what, with 12-15 minutes to go, so pretty early.
Simon Nicholson and Marcus Crisp down to the pit lane. Bryce Rodrigo is going to follow. Let's stay with Bruno De Carmo here, see how long his pit stop is. This will be a good indicator as to what the leaders were doing. He was starting to catch the top three before these pit stops began. He's back on the throttle, 19:10. Not so bad. I think if you are faster than a 20, you're looking pretty good. You're in good shape. You can still be quicker. Maybe quicker than a 19 is your goal, but quicker than a 20, I think you're on the right track.
Absolutely. Obviously, that's going to be a bit slower than his competition just ahead of Rubelar. Crisp, you can see just under 20 seconds as well. So that seems to be the benchmark, Andrew. You should be aiming for that. Obviously, some of the guys that were saving throughout the first 10 are going to have slower, lower pit stop times. Kimbrough as well, 19.2. Flanagan, 20.6. So you can see just very, wow. Rodriguez, 40 seconds.
Don't tell me he forgot to uncheck his tires. This feels very uncharacteristic for Bryce Rodriguez. Still in the pit lane. And he has dropped all the way down to 28th already. He is going to drop completely out of contention on this lead lap, if not worse. 75 seconds and counting in the pit lane. 76. 61 in the box. That is just... wow.
Yeah, that is a long stop. What could it be? I mean, it could only be their tires and a full tank of fuel or a bit of damage being fixed, right?
I don't see any damage on that car. I have to believe that was a mistake, or maybe he had to run and take care of something. I don't know. But here we go. Leaders into the pit lane now. Nathan Lewis following Andre Melchers. Let's run on board with Lewis for this pit stop.
And this is where I think gets interesting. We should see Nathan coming ahead of that BMW. But are we? That's the interesting one. Gustavo Ariel as well down in the pit lane. Nunez as well. Looks like Paulo Godoy as well. Everybody coming down in the pit lane, but the race, I guess, it's between these two.
A little
No.
bit, almost identical. 18.67, 18.7. Almost identical pit stops there. The lane time just a little bit quicker for Melchers. And it's apparent he has got about a second or so on Nathan Lewis with the car between. That's Nicholas Rubilar. Right in between these guys, Nathan Lewis loses one spot.
Wow, really good job by Rubilar to come in second to jump Nathan Lewis. He was at one point, I guess, really pushing to get close to Lewis. So really good little, pit stop for him. Matthew Dange, TK as well, down in the pit lane. So different strategies. You can see Galbraith again an 18.9. So wow, a lot of strategies to be talked about, Andrew. Only time will tell which one was the best, but Melchers, I wonder if he's gambling on fuel as well.
He's done it before. I mean, that seems like the play if you are Andre Melchers, but man, I can't help but feel that this might be all for naught for Andre, and that the real race for the win is between Rubilar and Lewis. I can't help but feel that way, knowing the router issue for Melchers. It was even an issue in the interview on Tuesday when he won the race at Spa. So I can't help but believe this might be all for naught.
Yeah, it would definitely be heartbreaking if that happens again. I don't know, but he's doing an excellent job, isn't he? Leading and still managing to come out ahead of the pit stops. Just shows great pace. Now, time will tell, Andrew. Will that router reset itself before or after the race is over? Oh, as Lewis gets past Rubilar just behind him.
Big move there on the straightaway. Maybe Rubilar needing to save some fuel. Chess at 200 miles an hour or so. That's what's happening.
Absolutely. And, I mean, it has been happening for quite a while in NRL, and I don't think we'll ever get used to it.
We never really do. We never really learn these guys' moves. They change them up, it seems, just enough every week, and continue to surprise us. Let's let these guys sort themselves out for about 10 minutes or so in the front. Let's fall back around the field a little bit. Hunter McDaniel, Paulo Godoy. This is a nice little battle. Godoy is actually your Pro-Am leader. Hunter McDaniel, of course, in Pro. And there's just been no competition for Paulo at all today. Last week, Bryce Rodriguez was there, and it was a really good race between these two. And it felt like maybe that was the tone setting for the season, but now it feels like Paulo is just going to have his own season, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a dominant performance by him. He's doing an excellent job. Up in 7th place, he's the only Pro-Am who has essentially touched the top 10 so far, and he's been consistent there throughout the race. Ever since lap 1, we've seen that purple ticker on the timing sheets right there. So a really good race. He told us he was going to put a lot of practice, and well, he certainly did.
His next competition in Pro-Am, Reed Gibson, back in the 11th position overall. We're talking about a difference of 17 seconds. That's the race lead currently in Pro-Am for Paulo Godoy. I mean, this is just insane stuff. He has got this figured out. Reed Gibson has got another several seconds. It looks like 8 seconds back to his New Year's competition for 3rd. Rodrigo Lepre in car 182, position 15 overall, in a Ferrari for Duckhawk Racing. The next Pro-Am driver, and that's when you get to a slew of Pro-Am drivers, Mike Galbraith and some others, is Rubilar just got back by Nathan Lewis.
This is a really fun battle to be emerging for 2nd place.
Are they leapfrogging, potentially? Trying to save fuel for both?
It could definitely be. Obviously, if they're leapfrogging to catch Andre, it's definitely not helping because that gap is up to 2.5, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. So, yeah, it's an interesting challenge. But obviously, you can see, Andrew, there's another Audi catching them.
Yeah, that's Bruno Ricarmo for Full-Time Esports. Then there's Gustavo Ariel just behind. We could have all 4 of them battling before the end of this race to have 2nd, 3rd, 5th all in one group here. Especially if these two keep backing themselves up. I'm not really sure. It seems like they're leapfrogging. They might not be intending to, but it seems like they are as Andre Melchers approaches some lap traffic. Looks like one of the Duckhawk Racing Audis. And that might be Fabio. That is Fabio Zamperlini. He just went by. Wow.
So yeah, unfortunately for Fabio, the reigning champion, you can see...
Not reigning champion. 2 seasons ago.
Oh, 2 seasons ago, true. Wow, it has been that long already?
Yeah. Believe me, I feel that.
he has been that long. So Fabio Zamperlini, so you can see extensive damage to that Audi, Andrew. I was gonna say he was just looking damage to the back end of that car, but the front end also looks very, very dented. So that car has definitely seen better days, and unfortunately for him, he has also seen better days. Currently in 33rd position. Quite unfortunate race for him.
Not at all what Fabio needed for this season. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say it looks like it's a wash, but it's looking like it's going to be a big uphill battle the entire season long, just to claw back from these first couple of races. It just seems like certain guys in the series just can't get a break lately, and it seems like it's the guys that have been around longer, or longest, Fabio Zamperlini, Scott Reister, and some others. They just keep getting hit by these big issues. Even William Coffey in amateur, with the issues that he saw Tuesday, a couple of moves that maybe shouldn't have been made or whatever, an incident or two, sorting himself well down to the order. And then tonight was absolutely going to win this race. I think anybody can admit that. Was going to win in amateur tonight at Sebring, and for whatever reason drops out of the event. It was a connection issue, he said. Something related to the iRacing.com sim. Really doesn't make any sense, but unfortunately he definitely lagged out.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, that was heartbreaking. We felt the same last week. Hopefully we won't feel the same twice today. That's gonna be, we're just counting the minutes. Is Andre? I'm pretty sure he's counting the minutes as well. Hoping that's not gonna happen. But yeah, you can see Matthew Dench has a pretty good view of a battle emerging right in front of him. And well, this is a fun 3-car battle. Looks like for what is this? 12th? Yes,
12th, 13th, and 14th. Yeah, Mitchell Ian Green just got passed up by Juan Blanat. And Juan going to take that spot away into turn 1. Mitchell Ian Green then in that Lamborghini falling back, and Matthew Dench maybe going to have a look at things.
Yeah, Matthew Dench definitely trying to make up some spots. And he's currently in a really good comeback race, isn't he? He's 14th place, looking at a possible 12 on the close, at least on the early side, and he's definitely racing. You can see how close he is to Green just ahead of him. We could see him move down the inside into the hairpin. Will we see that Audi darting? Yes, we will. Can we see? Oh no, a bit too far away early, but applying a little bit of pressure. The Lamborghini goes really wide. This could open the door for a move to Matthew Dench.
14 minutes to go. Matthew Dench weighing his options, wants to get out of position 14 into 13, 12, 10, 11, 10, so on and so forth. Wants to move back up in this field. Was doing so good earlier on, made a pass on Martin Crisp, and the car just came around on him. Now, Martin is in 10th spot, so if he can get back to Martin Crisp, obviously it's going to be a big gap to make up. In fact, it's 11 seconds from Crisp in 10th to Gibson in 11th. But if he can somehow get back up to Martin Crisp, wouldn't that be a story?
Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful to see, and it would have been one of the great comeback races. But look at that, the number 7 going quickest, trying to decrease that gap to the leader and pulling Nathan alongside with him. So 1.9 second, Andrew, 13 minutes to go. Could we see an overtake? Could we see first and third Rubillard catching up Melchers and then maybe trying to overtake the number 25?
Lewis is definitely going to hold pat. Nicholas is definitely running the wheels off of this car. He is driving he's driving it for everything it's got. And, oh boy, that was aggressive at 7. What a corner.
Really aggressive. You can really tell he's pushing the braking zones. He's pushing those front tires to the absolute limit, and that's what we love to see. That gap down to 1.6. It was at 1.9 at the beginning of the lap, so really pushing. Melchers might be saving a little bit, Andrew. That's valid strategy as well for Melchers. Saving a little bit of fuel, allowing him to catch up, and then use the fuel you saved to defend that position for all you got. You can see down to 1.5. Well. Could be tires as well. It could be difference, obviously, in cars, as Rubel are really good save, really aggressive. Yeah, pushing to the limits.
Yeah, Andre can sit here and save all of his tire for the end, and if Nicholas does manage to catch him, just drive back away, Tires are everything. Tires and fuel are everything in racing. And if Andre is able to save both of them and let Nicholas catch them, it's lights out from there. It's just a matter of connection for Andre. And I wonder if Nicholas knows that. I wonder if that's weighing on his mind at all. Obviously, he's a racer. He wants to go catch him and beat him on merit. But I wonder if that's at all on his mind. Obviously, it was Nicholas who was the benefactor of last week when Andre Melchers dropped out of the race. And Nicholas was able to go on through and take the win. But I wonder, is that on his mind at all? Is he considering that at all, or is he just lights out, go get him?
It could definitely be on his mind. But with 11 minutes to go, obviously that could only happen in the interviews, Andrew, just like happened on Tuesday. So he definitely wants to make that overtake on track, as you have a beautiful battle right here, just coming up to Le Mans between these two. Is this Paul Godoy?
That was Olivier and Kimbrough. Olivier takes a spot away in car 99. That's for 16th. Kimbrough in 17th. Galbraith catching them in 18th spot. Flanagan 19th and Sedlak 20th. And Kimbrough is, it looks like, 4th place in Pro-Am. Gibson taking 2nd in Pro-Am. Godoy still leading by quite a margin. Lepre is 3rd and Kimbrough is 4th. Galbraith just behind Kimbrough is 5th. Flanagan 6th. Sedlak 7th. Stravato 8th. And that's kind of how things break down in that Pro-Am class. Then you get Tony Kanaan in the 22nd spot overall, Andrew Parente in 23rd, and Mark Scott at 24th, and kind of so on and so forth.
This is a fun little battle where I guess this is one of the closest battles we have on the racetrack, Andrew, that involves at least, well, 3 cars, 2 Audis, 1 Ferrari, and just another Ferrari just behind him. As we have yet another car down in the pit lane, Justin Sang just looks like just filling up, 7.9 second stop. Looks like just topping up on a little bit of gas.
Mark McDonald had a bit of a slip up recently, now chasing down Blaine Sparling. This is for 25th on the racetrack. And you see the live gap on the bottom of the screen there. This is for 25th and 26th, and this slots into about the top 10, right at the top 10 cutoff for Pro-Am. When it's all said and done, you take the pros out of the equation. Good battles across the racetrack, and I wonder if McDonald's able to make that up. He did just recently drop into that spot, so I really do wonder. Look at that, purple again for Rubelar. He is continuing to catch up, and right here, he keeps hitting that wall, just clipping that wall in turn 1. When he comes back through, we're going to take the onboard there, and he is getting close.
He's pushing, and you can see the gap down to 1.3. It was at 1.2 momentarily, so it's coming down lap after lap. Once again, we saw Gustavo Ariel as well posting the fast lap of the race just a few seconds after Rubelar. This is going to be a fun little battle to follow. You know, that gap is coming down. I wonder if Rubelar will catch Andre, fast enough. Only 9 minutes to go, Andrew. That's, what, 5 laps?
We are looking at about 5 laps to go. In fact, next time we come on through, I believe, yes. We'll see if that actually holds. Of course, with pit stops, we usually lose 1 lap, so it could be 4 to go this time. They are turning just under 2-minute lap times. In fact, 1:57s for the leaders up front. So yeah, we're looking at about 4 laps when we get back to the start-finish line. That gap continues to dwindle. It's just getting close enough. And if Andre can get to about a second back of, if Rubelar, if Nicholas can get to about a second back of Andre through Le Mans and hold that on corner exit, he's going to have the slipstream and he's going to have the draft on this backstretch. Is he close enough here? He is very close. He is on the fringe of sniffing that wake and being able to use that slipstream. He's using it here. You can see that gap dwindling. He is on it.
Yeah, he's very on it. He kind of dropped Nathan Lewis as well behind him, so he can focus essentially just on that car ahead of him. And as you mentioned, the slipstream now is going to play an effect. He's going to catch him even faster.
Now what I want you to do real quick, watch the left side of the car. Watch when he comes through turn 1. Watch how close he gets to that inside wall real quick.
Let's see.
Now that time it wasn't actually nearly as close. He has triggered the damage sound in iRacing the last 3 laps in a row, getting that close to the turn 1 wall, actually rendering damage for a second, and then the sim is re-rendered and taking that damage away. He has been that close where it's confusing the sim on if he's hitting the wall or not.
It's very close, definitely pushing the limits. Could we see a mirror hanging off? It would definitely be interesting to see. But look at that, Andrew, half a second.
He's there.
He's very much there. Now the question is just lining up a move. Obviously he needs that gap to close even more to be able to line up a move down the inside, outside, try to force Melchers into a mistake. Still plenty of work to be done, but not a lot of time.
He is, for all intents and purposes, there. Within a half second now as they work through turn 10. inside of 7 minutes to go. We likely just took 4 to go last time by the start-finish line, so we should get 3 this time by. And now you wonder if Andre's able to back Nicholas up to where Nathan Lewis can get back into this fight, and if maybe we can have a 3-car battle once again. Maybe does Bruno DeCarmo make up enough time? He's 5 seconds back, but if these guys start slowing down and start battling, anything's possible.
Absolutely. I mean, they just need to go side by side through a few corners to slow them down enough. Oh, we saw a bit of a wiggle from Melchers up that front end. Looks like it was not behaving too well, the back end as well. So, struggling. Could we see tire trouble already, Andrew?
Closing in on this backstretch into sunset now. The Lamborghini nice and aggressive. It can attack these corners. The BMW squats up out of the corners, drives away real nicely, but the Lamborghini can't attack on entry. Sun now blinding them. 3 laps to go, 6 minutes to go. It actually might be 4. They might just be quick enough. And purple again, 1:57.353. I think we're still getting 4 laps that last time by. Yes, I think we're getting 4 laps to go.
This is going to be amazing. The gap is really coming down. Oh, this is going to be essentially a battle for the ages, Andrew, isn't it? I hope nothing happens to the number 25 internet. I want to see this battle on the racetrack.
It was about this time last week.
Yeah, it was just 5 minutes to go. On the final few laps, wasn't it? Second to last lap, if I'm not mistaken.
We'll see if this battle comes to fruition or if Andre Melchers lags out for a second week in a row. Nathan Lewis trying to catch up to these guys. Paulo Godai still leading in Pro-Am by a large margin. This, however, is a proper battle for the race win in Pro and overall. Rubilar taking a look down to the inside for turn 10. He's going to go for it. That was quick, but he's starting to test those waters, starting to fill those mirrors, starting to get that 25 car offline.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to just apply a little bit of pressure. Was very close there, and that move ended up costing them both around 3 to 4 tenths of a second. So Nathan is definitely wants to see more of that. And we do as well, Andrew, don't we? I mean, I want to see the Lamborghini going down the inside, challenging that BMW. He's getting very, very close. Oh, I'm really excited for this.
Out of Le Mans, they'll fire up, back down the back stretch, get going down, and this is where the slipstream comes in for Rubilar. Is he able to make a move into sunset? He should have the run. He's only 3 tenths back, closing quickly. He should have the run to at least poke his nose to the inside of turn 17. He's closing, he's looking, he's not there just yet. Stays back. Can he try and turn 1 maybe? Closes through the center of sunset, and oh, you can see these cars bobbling over those bumps on the inside of the corner. They're starting to say, screw it, let's go right down to the inside, cut that corner off as closely as possible. 4 minutes to go, 3 laps to go.
3 laps, only a few extra chances for Rubilar to essentially gather. You saw how close Melchers got to that turn 1 barrier. So he's also pushing the limits, trying to retain that position, but looks like the Lamborghini, Andrew, is simply the faster car around here. Oh, has something happened to Nathan Lewis?
Nathan Lewis has just spun out after turn 1, and he has dropped all the way down to 5th place. Take his podium run and throw it out the window. He was gifted 2nd place last week when Andre dropped out. He was running 3rd to Nicholas Rubilar in 2nd. This time he makes a mistake, drops all the way down to 5th behind the full-time esports drivers of DeCarmo and Ariel. But we've still got this battle, top 2 going at it.
It's going to be great to see. Could we see a move down in the exact same place? The gap is around 2 tenths of a second. We could see the Lamborghini darting down the inside. Yes, we see once again
There's
going deep for the
braking.
braking. Oh, that was really, really bold by Rubilar. Really good defensive by Melchers. It's getting really close. It was the exact same corner as we saw last time out, Andrew. So that seems to be the preferred spot by the Lamborghini. But we could see many other corners as well. You can see closing once again. We could see a move happening right here.
And these guys no longer have to worry about Nathan Lewis. They don't have to worry about Bruno DeCarmo for 5 seconds of racetrack. They've got plenty of room here. Nicholas Rubilar can definitely get aggressive. We should get the 2 to go signal this time by. These guys are going just quick enough to add a lap to this race despite the pit stops. And look at that. You can see Andre Melchers knows the situation, knows the draft situation down this backstretch, knows he's got to work it. Into sunset, Nicholas takes a look to the inside. Can't do anything there. Andre covers it up.
That's gonna hurt him a little bit on the exit, so he might not be close enough to challenge down into turn number 1, but he's looking very racy, Andrew. He definitely wants to settle this as soon as possible. He's very close Oh, wow. I'm really excited to see if it's going to happen this lap. It has to happen either this lap or next one because,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. that is correct. I wonder. I'm surprised he's trying so hard in turn 10. To be honest, that feels like a weird place to me. But that seems to be where he's comfortable doing it. So by all means, go for it, Nicholas. He's been able to challenge each and every time. He's gotten closer and closer. But now, you know what? Through Big Ben, he's actually dropped back a little bit. He is further back now into the hairpin than he was the previous 2 laps, I believe. Closes back in through 7, right to the back end of that BMW. Still a little ways back. I don't know if he can challenge from here.
No, this seems a bit too far away. Closing in, you can see on the back end of the straightaway, kind of gets a slipstream. He's probably going to look down the inside. Not quite. You can see the Lamborghini just very, very close. Yeah, it's coming. It's definitely coming. Just he needs to nail a few of these corners. You can see down here, looking down the inside, backs off quite smartly.
Yeah, don't force anything just yet. Worst case scenario, you come home second place to somebody who is well down the standings because of a connection issue last week. So, worst case scenario for Nicholas is still very, very good as long as they don't crash. Let's not force anything. Let's not be too brash. It's still only race 2 of the season into Le Mans for the penultimate time. Setting himself up. He's not very close. It's not going to happen in Sunset this lap. It's not going to happen on this lap at all. It's going to have to happen on the final lap. Teammates behind, you can see they are very close. Bruno Del Carmo and Gustavo Ariel very close to each other now, within about 3/4 of a second down the backstretch.
And this is going to be the final time they're going to do this. So the number 7 needs to do it on this lap. The last chance he's got to do it. Andrew, do you think it's going to happen? Which corner do you think he might try to make a move?
He's going to try turn 10. He's going to, I think. That just seems like the place to do it. White flag is officially out. Presented by Whiplash Simcams. Andre dropped out. You are kidding me. On the last lap of the race.
Oh, no.
Wow.
That is heartbreaking once again.
This race just needs to start 5 minutes sooner, I think.
I was gonna say that we need to make a petition to this race starts 5-10 minutes sooner because
Wow.
that was a lot of bad luck.
On the final lap.
That's what, 3 minutes away? Not even that. 2 minutes
Less
from
than 2.
the finish.
It was out of
He
turn
just
1. That's a minute and 45 seconds.
Just needed to cross the line for it to count. Oh, that's heartbreaking. Well, Rubelar, he may have gotten on pace as well, Andrew, on the racetrack. So it's really, really heartbreaking to see that happening.
Oh, something happened to Gustavo Ariel as well. He's no longer on podium. He has fallen well back. He is down into the 7th position, and Paulo Goday is now in the top 5 overall. And Paulo Goday is very close to Nicholson, Simon Nicholson here for the 4th spot. Paulo might not be done. This could be a good little opportunity for him to get up into 4th.
Yeah, he's around 8/10 of a second behind Nicholson. Definitely close to 4th. Kind of forced Nicholson into a mistake. Kind of showed him he's there. But obviously, he only has a few corners and a straightaway. Well, Rubelar only has half a corner to go and a little bit of a straightaway to win his 2nd race in a row. And, well, he won it, Andrew. Yeah, he won, unfortunately. On the unfortunate circumstances, he had the pace towards the end of the race. He's going to cross the line and win his 2nd race in a row. Bruno Del Carmo on his debut, Andrew, is going to finish in 2nd place. Nathan Lewis, after showing good promise on qualifying and on the first stint, is going to finish in 3rd. And, well, looks like Nicholson might just hold off Paulo Goday, but Paulo with a 5th place finish and the only Pro-Am driver to be in the top 10, that's a commanding victory.
The field to come on by and finish this race up. I'm absolutely speechless. Absolutely speechless. On the last lap. I am gutted for Andre. That's just... He drove that race so perfectly. Started on pole. That should be 2 wins in a row for Andre Melchers, just like he opened up the Porsche Cup season. The rest of the field comes on through. Let's not let things overshadow these battles as they come to the line. That's why we take these speed shots so that you can see everything going on, even as we talk about the finish. All these battles come to the line. You can pick out your favorite cars as everybody comes across. Let's see. Next up should be Mark McDonald in a Lamborghini. Is that him? Yes, that's Mark McDonald across the line. And then it looks like the car behind was Blaine Sparling. Pierre Irby should be next in 26th spot. Disbelief between the two that were duking it out for a win, Nicholas Rubelar and Andre Melchers in the Discord. Absolute disbelief.
I'm speechless once again, Andrew. We kind of knew this could happen, but seeing it happen again.
A 48-minute race, and he's got the win.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. With that heavy on our minds, I'm not really sure where else there is to go from that, JP. That is so gutting, even for us, just covering the race. It is so gutting to see happen. Somebody leading this race, putting the race together perfectly, and on the last lap, taken out of it by connection, by a router reset. A daily router reset. I can't believe it. Let's go ahead and bring up our unofficial race results as they stand. Nicholas Rubelar takes first place, takes the win. That, it's deserving, and he may have gotten the win regardless, but it's another one of those ways. It's just like in NASCAR when there's a crash coming to the line or whatever. You have whatever happen. It's not the way you want to win it, but Nicholas Rubelar will take the win regardless, I'm sure. Bruno DeCarmo there in second place. Nathan Lewis takes third. Simon Nicholson fourth. And Paulo Gadai wraps up your top five. Really good day for Paulo. Of course, got a spot or two there at the end by a couple of drivers having some issues. Would have been seventh, but picks up fifth regardless. And to outlast other drivers and outlast other issues and come home fifth, that is what it's all about in racing. You've got to have attrition. You've got to finish in order to finish first, and in this case, he finished, well, fifth overall, but very much first in class. Hunter McDaniel, sixth place. Gustavo Ariel there in seventh. Martin Crisp in eighth. Marcos Nunez in the ninth position, and Matthew Dench. How about that comeback? 43 seconds back of the race leader, but in the top 10.
Absolutely amazing. Mitchell Green is going to finish in 11th place. Reed Gibson in 12th. Dominic Olivier in 13th. Scott Kimbrough in 14th place. Rodrigo Lappi in 15th. Mike Galbraith in 16th. John Sedlak 17th place ahead of AJ Stravato. Tony Kanaan is going to finish in 19th place ahead of David Flanagan.
Finishing 21st, you will find car 89, one Blaine, one of the fastest qualifiers out there, started fourth, and unfortunately just doesn't have a whole lot to show for it. Andrew Parente there in 22nd, Mark Scott 23rd, Mark McDonald in 24th, Blaine Sparling 25th, then you have Pierre Irby, Bryce Rodriguez. Wow, that is painful to see for Bryce. Brian Zinn there in the 28th spot, Justin Sang in 29th, and Lucas Souza in 30th. That's your top 30.
31st place will go to Andre Melchers, unfortunately leading up until the final lap of the race, up until the turn 3 of the final lap. So unfortunately he's going to finish 31st. Fabio Zamperlini 32nd, Pierre Thompson in 33rd place, Federico Godoy in 34th, Neil Blitstone in 35th, Scott Reister 36th, Victor Miranda in 37th, Bobby Flack in 38th, ahead of Blake Scott in 39th, and Nick Ludicky in 40th place.
In 41st, you'll find Daniel Ferguson in car 76, Elliott White there in 42nd, both 26 laps down, taken out on that first lap, and nothing to show for their race, and actually might have even guarded themselves. I don't think they guarded themselves disqualifications, but definitely well down the order there. I still cannot believe, JP, what we've just seen for Andre Melchers.
I don't think anyone watching
I don't know how he can keep his cool. I really don't know. I don't know how you can have that happen, know it's happening, just trying to get the race done in time, and be a minute 45 or so short, and not be absolutely livid. I seriously applaud Andre Melchers and his temperament. I would not be nearly as cool right now. He seems like, yeah, he's disappointed, but he seems like he accepts it and just knows it's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he must be having a lot of fun. I mean, to brush that off, obviously, is frustrating.
Of course, he knows.
Very frustrating.
He's got the pride of dominating this race. He probably should have won this race, so he's got that going for him. But that doesn't replace the result, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely not. Not. I guess it cannot replace, the feeling that you get by winning the race on pace. But yeah, unfortunately, luckily he can take it on the good side. He can, I guess, kind of laugh it off, but it's still heartbreaking nonetheless. And yeah.
We'll go ahead and get ready then for post-race interviews. We only have Paulo Godoy so far, but we can go ahead and wait on some of these drivers. Drivers, if you are out there listening to us, checking into the broadcast, by all means, pop into the PitStopTV Discord server. If you are in the North American Racing League Discord and you're confused as to where you need to go to the channel broadcast waiting room information. I do believe, let me just verify, that should be the name of it. Yes, broadcast waiting room information in the Thursday GT3 series category. And you'll find information and a server invite link to be able to join our server and come talk to us. So if you are confused but you're listening out there, that is where you need to go. Let's go ahead and get ready then, though, JP. Pro-Am winner, Paulo Godoy, headed your way.
Então, Paulo, depois de algumas semanas de segundo lugar, quinto lugar, disparado o melhor Pro-Am da competição. Cara, dominante a corrida do teu ponto de vista, como é que foi?
Ai, João, é isso. Hoje foi do jeito que a gente queria. Um ritmo legal. A gente treinou bastante para estar aqui. A semana que tem um evento especial, né, das 12 horas, então já vem de um tempo a gente batendo nessa tecla aí de Sebring. Então, sábado tem um evento, a gente, né, vem tratando a pista com carinho. E refletiu hoje aqui no nosso tempo, refletiu aqui no nosso trabalho. A corrida foi maravilhosa, na verdade. Fiz um quali legal, até acertei uma volta boa. Consegui me colocar na primeira posição da categoria e meio que embolado com o pessoal, com os brutos aí do grid. E aí, cara, foi tentar administrar. Eu sabia que poderia rolar algum toque, né? Alguma coisa, uma pista que acontece, né? Frenagens fortes em finais de reta. Então, algum toque na categoria da frente eu poderia acabar sobrando para mim. Então, nas primeiras voltas na minha cabeça eu só tinha me salvar, né? Não me envolver em nenhum acidente. E junto com o vácuo do pessoal, tentar seguir para distanciar da minha categoria e chegar lá. Mas, cara, um P5 no geral, nesse grid aqui, eu acho que dispensa comentário. Eu tô extremamente feliz com o ritmo. Eu não posso deixar de agradecer de forma nenhuma as pessoas que estão comigo. Principalmente um cara hoje que eu devo, na verdade, esse tempo, esse pace, que é meu amigo Ralph Benítez, aqui do Brasil, uma referência nos fórmulas, referência em qualquer carro que ele anda. Ontem a gente perdeu um tempo para treinar junto, quando ele entrou no serve comigo, e tá começando um trabalho de coach. Em breve vai tá mostrando seu trabalho para o Brasil em relação a isso. Então hoje é especialmente para ele. Um cara nota 10 que sabe muito, tem muito tempo de iRace, tem muito tempo de simulador, e se propôs ficar aqui comigo e me ensinando detalhes que fizeram total diferença. Não menos importante, o pessoal da DHR, né? Então, Zampa, o Vitinho, que infelizmente teve um toque ali, estava bem preparado. A galera do Brasil vem muito forte, né? Então, DHR em si toda ali, até os meninos que correm na verdade na Porsche com a gente, mas não participam aqui na GT3. Então, cara, quem tem amigos, quem tem apoio, quem tá junto, quem tá sendo positivo com a gente, cara, tem um lugar nisso tudo, né? A gente ainda quer chegar muito longe, tem muito pouco tempo de estrada, mas é reflexo de muito trabalho, tá? Então tô muito feliz. Mas eu quero agradecer a minha equipe, a Real Drive, que também me apoia em relação aos campeonatos, né? Os meus patrocinadores, que são a Real Drive, a Ciência VR, a Motorbu e a Comida do Dia. E é isso, cara. É isso. Vamos seguir nessa mesma cadência do Porsche Cup aqui. Eu tenho muito a treinar e muito a mostrar também. E vamos que vamos. Tô muito feliz por hoje.
Show de bola, com certeza. Eu espero fazer uma pequena parte desse time do Brasil aí. Tô sempre torcendo pra vocês. Mas, obviamente, falando de semana que vem pra próxima corrida, podemos esperar mais um resultado como esse?
É aí que a gente vai focar. A ideia é chegar forte lá de novo e sempre manter essa cadência de resultado para buscar o campeonato no final, que para mim é o mais importante. Ah, só um minutinho. De novo, esqueci de uma pessoa, não posso esquecer de forma nenhuma. É meu pai, com certeza. Ele não tá aqui hoje em casa, mas tá na casa dele assistindo e é um dos meus maiores apoiadores também. A gente não tá no real, pai, mas a gente tá aqui no virtual e a gente vai chegar lá, tá? É pra você também. Te amo. É isso.
Com certeza, garanto que ele tá super orgulhoso. Meus parabéns de novo, Paulo. Espero falar contigo terça e quinta. Se tudo der certo, boa sorte nas 12 horas de Sebring agora esse final de semana. E, bom treino até lá e até mais.
Até mais, João. Muito obrigado.
Well, Andrew, that was Paulo. I guess even you, if you couldn't understand Portuguese, I guess even you could tell he was pretty happy with the result. He said the pace was fantastic. He put a lot of practice. Obviously, the 12 hours of the 12 hours of Sebring being this weekend also obviously helped with, getting the practice, especially the GT3 car. So, that was a big factor. The race was wonderful. He only had good things to say. The pace on qualifying was fantastic. He managed to put a really good lap in. I'm pretty sure he started 12th place. The race was good. He was just running his own pace, just trying to keep it clean. He knew, it was possible for the drivers ahead to have contact, and we saw plenty of mistakes by the drivers ahead. He was just using the toe, using the slipstream of the drivers ahead to keep his nose clean, and he was pretty happy with P5. I mean, you should be. The grid is absolutely stacked. The pro drivers are fantastic, so a really good show for him. He was thanking his coach quite a lot. I'm pretty sure the name was Rafa Benitez. Could be getting that one wrong, but he was pretty happy with the coaching. For next week, he wants more of the same. Finishing, always winning. Winning the race, and obviously aiming for the championship.
So Paul Gaday grabs a pretty big statement win here at Sebring, finishing second to him though in Pro-Am, some, 27 seconds behind is car 112, Reed Gibson. And there is Reed Gibson, and Reed, first off, congratulations, second place, pretty worthy of being proud of. But 27 seconds, that is a big gap. Is it just a matter of Paulo maybe being a little more on pace with some of the pros? I mean, I know these divisions are set by I rating. He seems like he has got it figured out.
Yeah, I'm looking at his results, and I couldn't touch it. I felt like I ran a really good race. I kept my head clean, stayed out of incidents, and just put in laps. But yeah, we could not touch the 58s. I can maybe pull one or two out every once in a while. But yeah, Paulo has just way more pace than me. So, props to him. But I'm happy to have done what I did and ran my own race.
So Sebring out of the way, obviously, you've got to look up to the next race. Long Beach next week. We saw how that went with the Porsche Cup Series. It's going to be a challenge for literally every car on the racetrack. That's already known. How do you attack Long Beach? How do you minimize mistakes and maximize results?
Well, I mean, I guess I could drive down there because I don't live too far away from the track itself. But I mean, Long Beach is a track I enjoy. I felt like I had good pace in it in the P Cup, and I'm hoping that I can find some good pace in the GT3 cars. But it's really just, again, a matter of picking your moments and getting into a rhythm, and not really worrying about the pace of other drivers, worrying about controlling your own pace and just keeping the car, off the walls and out of damage. You really have to pick and choose your battles, especially in this league where you're mixed up with the pros and pros-ams. Even at the end of this race, I saw some pros coming up on me, and I was like, you know what? The difference in paces is huge, and you got to decide, are you going to sacrifice your position for, the overall championship? Points now are worth more than, hypothetical points in 3 laps. So, it's just going to be a matter of keeping your head on a swivel, trying to stay out of incidents, especially in turn 1 on lap 1. It's got to be a little bit of roll of the dice, but you got to try and set yourself up for success.
Absolutely correct there. Love everything you just said. As far as the points go, and going into a week, especially like Long Beach, you come into this race 17 points back of the leader, Bryce Rodriguez, who finishes well down the order, and only 6 points back of Paulo Gaday, who just won the race. That's obviously looking pretty good for your point situation. Do you, I guess, take a conservative approach these next few weeks, just try and not have to use your drop week, or do you try and go for wins?
I think, kind of like I said earlier, you gotta take the points you can get that are in front of you. You never know what's gonna happen. You never know what incident's gonna come up that maybe you just can't avoid, or if someone else is gonna, lose the car, and that could ruin your race. So you worry about just finishing first and then just running as high of a pace you can. So you put in the practice, you try to make sure that you're aware of where you can go on the track to avoid incidents. And you treat every race as its biggest opportunity, but it's you can't go flat out every race. It's a long championship. Sure, you can make up time, but it's very easy to dig yourself a hole. And it's also very easy to rest on your laurels if you do well at the start. And I know that there's a lot of faster drivers behind me with more pace, but if I can stay in a good position early on and just grind it out and have good results every race, it doesn't need to be wins, but you can get top 10 finishes and finish really well. So the name of the game is finishing first.
Now, is there a track, when you talk about the season being a long one and certainly rather diverse in the schedule, is there a track you look at as your best opportunity to go out there and maximize what you can get?
Honestly, actually, Long Beach is probably going to be a good one for me just because I enjoy Long Beach. I think I have decent pace there, but it kind of just depends. I don't know. I'm still relatively getting up to speed in terms of finding that really fast lap on every track, especially in the GT3 cars with some of the changes they made this season. So I was pleasantly surprised with my results here at Sebring. And as I'm rehabbing, I think you guys mentioned this, but I broke my collarbone just a couple weeks ago. So everything is just kind of getting easier and easier. So I don't know. I don't want to say any race is going to be my best because, you go into a track and you think you're going to be the fastest or you have really good pace. And if you don't, that might be disheartening. So you got to just take it step by step and lap by lap and approach every race as, its own individual thing with, an eye on the overall championship of knowing, you just got to finish. You just got to do your best and, not worry about being the best, but just doing your best.
Well, Reed, congratulations at a second place here in Pro-Am. Love everything you just said in that interview. Hopefully we get to talk to you a whole lot more this season. And hopefully after your home race of Long Beach next week. Best of luck to you next week. And yeah, you better take first or second here and be talking to us in a week's time. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That's Reed Gibson with a really, really strong finish today. Second place in class to Paulo Goday and well ahead of Scott Kimbrough as well. He might have had a mistake or two at the end because that gap definitely grew to the car ahead and diminished to the car behind, but still a really, really good day there for Reed. And nursing that collarbone as he continues to heal, that's a big storyline as well that I'd actually forgotten about since Long Beach when that was mentioned for the Porsche Cup race. So really cool that Reed is nursing that and doing everything he can to get all the best finishes he possibly can. Really, really cool stuff to see what Reed is doing. But that said, JP, none of our pros decided to come talk to us, so hey, I guess we can just go ahead and wrap this thing up. Upcoming broadcasts here at PitStopTV, there are, as always, plenty of them, and next up, we finally have the MPI Cup Series. Now, this is honestly about a year in the making. We've been talking to them for a little while, on and off, and finally an opportunity came up. We couldn't pass this one up, and we are working with the MPI Cup Series for 2022, beginning this weekend, Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern at Circuit of the Americas. As I mentioned, Tuesday, you'll likely see Chase Elliott, maybe another driver, maybe Chase Briscoe or somebody, dominate that one. And then you'll be able to see what these guys can do around the place. It'll be a lot of different drivers, obviously. None of the same Cup drivers or anything like that, but it's the same cars, the same track, the same kind of scenarios, but with their own storylines, their own characteristics, their own personalities, and that's what's so much fun about these leagues, going to the same NASCAR tracks as NASCAR actually goes to at the same time. So the MPI Cup Series, definitely, if you are into NASCAR racing in any shape or form, the MPI Cup Series is going to be one that you want to tune in for. It's just like the Outlaws Sim Series in that respect. It is somewhere, a league that you've got to watch races of if you are at all interested in what the NASCAR Cup Series currently has to offer. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how they open things up here on the channel on Sunday. And then, of course, Tuesday, we wrap back around to our normal schedule with Donington Park for the BSR MX-5 guys. That's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how the extra little hairpin there for the Grand Prix course are going to do for them on Tuesday, but hey, we're going to find out. And actually, that time is a little bit wrong. British summertime will begin this weekend, so that will still be 8 p.m. UK, but back to 3 p.m. Eastern for Tuesday, and then Tuesday evening, of course, Charlotte Motor Speedway, a place I love and hold very near dear to myself. That is up next for the Porsche Cup cars. Very much excited to see how they do there. And of course, Wednesday is the Outlaw Sim Series again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thursday, we'll have a repeat with Donington Park and BSRTC. And then, well, right back here with GT3 cars at Long Beach. So a very full week ahead. A whole lot of road racing. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait for next week. Plenty of road racing. You know I love it, Andrew. Let it be NASCAR, MX-5, Porsche Cup. touring cars or GT3s, I'm all up for it. And obviously, if you're up for it as well, you should follow us on social media to keep up to date with all the news, all the updates, all the pictures, and all, you know, post-race coverage, live coverage, all that sort of stuff on facebook.com/PitStopTV, twitter.com/PitStopTV_, instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, and youtube.com/PitStopTV1.
I can tell the night's getting to you, JP. One more question for you, and then we will close this thing down. What are your personal takeaways from a day like this at Sebring?
Oh, even though it's a very challenging course, you know, a lot of competition. We saw some brilliant racing. We saw some excellent pace by some drivers. We saw some surprising pace as well. I guess this is just, you know, setting up for a great rest of the season. You know, a lot to take away, a lot of stories. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of the series will bring, you know, in the upcoming few weeks.
Yeah, a whole lot more to take shape here with all the series we've got going on Pit Stop TV. As per mentioned, the Outlaws Sim Series, the MPI Cup Series, for NASCAR stuff, for road racing, you've got your choice of BSR, NARL, and so much more. Plenty of series to keep a hold of, and just like with any of them, a whole lot's going to change, be it in NARL, BSR, or whatever, and I'm excited to see how they all go. Just a lot of great racing. We are very, very lucky to have all the great racing that we have on this channel, and I gotta say, the GT3 races so far this season, just 2 of them, have been some of the best, certainly in recent memory. For all of us at Pit Stop TV, thanks so much for tuning in this evening. It's been a pleasure having you along for the ride. JP Costa joining me on coverage with Emerson. Let's go ahead and get that back on there. We don't have Emerson Arden in there. Emerson has come back from kind of being very partial in broadcasting for the last little while, and his effort is so appreciated. I don't know if that gets mentioned enough, but what Emerson Arden does here at Pit Stop TV is so crucial. Of course, heads up the production for the Outlaw Sim series, and there we go. We can get Emerson Arden. We're trying. Things are not playing nicely here, but what Emerson Arden does around here is very much appreciated, and isn't on enough broadcasts, I feel, these days. But glad to have him here on the crew for these Thursday evening broadcasts with the North American Racing League GT3 series. So again, for all of us here, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to join our crew at Pit Stop TV, email me directly at andrew@pitstoptv.com, or message us on any of our social media platforms, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Once again, thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Hopefully you tune in on Sunday for the MPI Cup Series from Circuit of the Americas. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we want to see you there.